The old Maodai that has been around for decades is indeed extraordinary. Come, let's have a taste. Including Zhou Hao, everyone raised their glasses. They felt that this old Maodai was indeed mellow and rich. After a lively and hearty meal, everyone was full of wine and food. At this time, the female manager walked in. Zhou Licheng also said, "You came at the right time. Come, pay the bill and see how much it is." At the same time, he asked Su Yongwei to take out a few stacks of 100 yuan notes from her bag. However, he heard the female manager smile and say, "No need, no need. Our boss had instructed that as long as Mr. Zhou comes to our hotel, all fees will be waived. Is everyone satisfied with our hotel service?" Zhou Licheng and the others were stunned. His friends all gave Zhou Licheng a thumbs up. In their opinion, being able to eat in this peony room was a symbol of status. Furthermore, they had never seen anyone who could eat in Tianbin Hotel for free. Even Brother Chai whispered to Zhou Licheng, "D***M, old Zhou, when did you meet young Master Fan? Why didn't you tell anyone about it?" Zhou Licheng scratched his head with a smile, but in fact, he couldn't figure it out himself. "Mr. Zhou, our boss just came back from Guangzhou. He said he wanted to come and greet you." The female manager said with a smile, Okay. I also want to see him." Zhou Licheng, who was being enviously stared at by the crowd, did not realize that the female manager's words were not directed at him. She even replied with a smile. When the manager saw Zhou Hao nod slightly, she walked out with a smile on her face. Not long later, a handsome man in a suit and shoes knocked on the door and entered. It was Fan Liza. Zhou Licheng's friends couldn't help but sit up straight and look at Zhou Licheng. Although they were richer than ordinary people, they rarely came into contact with people like Fan Liza, so they left the scene to Zhou Licheng. Zhou Licheng straightened his collar, stood up from the chair, and walked towards Fan Liza. He smiled humbly and said, "Young Master Fan, thank you for your hospitality today, especially those deep-sea dragon fans and these old Mao Tai. We are very satisfied with them." Fan Liza looked at Zhou Licheng with a puzzled expression and asked with a frown, "Who are you?" He didn't know this man who had suddenly approached him and tried to get close to him. "Me." Under the gazes of his friends, Zhou Licheng felt a little awkward, but he still smiled and said, "I am Zhou Licheng, young Master Fan. Do I know you?" Fan Liza's words stunned Zhou Licheng and the others. At this time, Fan Liza also saw Zhou Hao who was sitting at the table. He suddenly realized something. "I know. You are Brother Zhou's friend." "Zhou? Brother Zhou?" Zhou Licheng asked curiously. Fan Liza ignored him and walked towards Zhou Hao and Yin Tong with a smile. "Brother Zhou, long time no see. I heard you went to Guangxi for a vacation. How about it? The scenery in Guilin is not bad, right?" After saying that, he smiled at Yin Tong, who was beside Zhou Hao. "Aunt Yin, haha, today is the Spring Festival. Why don't you give me a red packet?" Zhou Hao smiled at him and said, "You are already so old, yet you still dare to ask my mother for a red packet? Why not? I am not married yet." Fan Liza said with a smile. Yin Tong took out a red packet from her bag and gave it to Fan Liza. "How could I forget about you, Mr. Fan? I was just afraid you wouldn't want it." The conversation between the three of them stunned Zhou Licheng and everyone else. It was only at this time that everyone came back to their senses. It turned out that the person who received them was Mr. Zhou. It wasn't Zhou Licheng at all, but Zhou Hao. Furthermore, seeing the three of them having a good conversation and having a better relationship than ordinary friends, everyone finally understood that the reason why Tianbin Hotel gave them the famous wine was because of Zhou Hao. Even Brother Chai was muttering to himself at the side. I'm really convinced this time. Even the son of the mayor of Guangzhou is trying to please him. No wonder our boss is so happy after giving him so much money." The one who was most shocked was Zhou Licheng. It turned out that he had misunderstood from the beginning. Just now, he had thought that if he could really get to know Fan Liza, with this relationship, his future development would not be any worse than Zhou Hao's. But now, the one who knew Fan Liza was Zhou Hao, and the reason why Tianbin Hotel did so many things was all because of Zhou Hao. Only now did Zhou Licheng understand what it meant to be embarrassed. Right now, he really wanted to find a hole to hide in, especially when facing the gazes of his friends. Fortunately, Fan Liza came over to greet him immediately after knowing that Zhou Licheng was Zhou Hao's uncle, saving some face for Zhou Licheng. Su Yongwei, who was originally very proud of her husband knowing Fan Liza, now saw how close Fan Liza was with Zhou Hao and his son. She felt very unpleasant in her heart. However, she now knew that Zhou Hao and his son were completely different from before. Zhou Hao wanted to ask again, but when he saw the melancholy expression on Yin Qingqing's lips, he could not bear to force her again. He sighed in his heart and smiled, changing the topic. Oh right, I just heard from Aunt and the others that you didn't study anymore. Yin Qingqing nodded slightly and said with a self-deprecating smile, Anyway, I'm not good at studying. I've never been qualified for language and mathematics. She smiled and looked at Zhou Hao. Annie said that your grades in school are very good. Xiao Hao, you have to work hard. In the future, if you get into a good university, your future will be even better. She knew that only by working hard would you have a good future, but she was not studying anymore. In fact, Zhou Hao knew that Yin Qingqing was a kind of clever girl. If she could settle down and study seriously, her grades would not be worse than his. However, on one hand, Yin Munan's family was not very well off. Even if he worked hard for a year, he could only barely maintain his family's life. He also had to support his parents with Yin Mudong. If he paid Yin Qingqing's tuition fees, then it would be difficult for him to take a step forward. Yin Qingqing, on the other hand, had to do housework and farm work for her family since she was young. The time she could use to study was very limited. Therefore, Yin Qingqing was not stupid. Instead, she was objectively unable to learn at the same time. Actually, she did not want to go to high school because she did not want to increase the burden on her family anymore. Cousin Qingqing, if there is a chance, will you go to school again? Zhou Hao asked. Yin Qingqing paused, then shook her head and smiled. Forget it. I don't have such talent, so I don't need to waste my time. What about work, cousin? Do you want to work in the city? Zhou Hao asked her. Work? Yin Qingqing's heart moved. Zhou Hao smiled and said, Yes. Didn't my mom open a shop? You can come and help. After all, we're a family. It's very convenient to take care of them. Can I really? After hearing Zhou Hao's words, Yin Qingqing was very moved. But after thinking for a while, her expression dimmed again. Still, there's no need. I want to stay here. I can't leave this place. When she said this, there was a flash of pain and helplessness in her eyes. It was as if there was a reason why she had to stay here. Why? I think Uncle and the others won't object either. Zhou Hao said. Yin Qingqing shook her head stubbornly. No need, Xiao Hao. There really is no need. I'm fine here. I don't need to go to the city anymore. Besides, you can also ask other people for help. I'm a village girl. It's not like I can't do it without me. Zhou Hao was very puzzled by Yin Qingqing's change in attitude. When he asked her to come to the city to help, she clearly showed a look of interest on her face. But suddenly changing her attitude, it was obvious that she had some difficulties. However, Zhou Hao also knew that although Yin Qingqing was gentle and kind, she was also very stubborn sometimes. If she did not want to say it, he would not ask her how to say it. So he deliberately said, Then forget it. I won't force you. Yes. Yin Qing nodded slightly, but her eyes were filled with deep disappointment and helplessness. Oh right, Cousin Qingqing, I brought you a present this time, Zhou Hao said with a smile. Yin Qingqing smiled again. Really? What gift is it? Zhou Hao took out a kinship knot from his pocket and handed it to Yin Qingqing. Didn't you often say that you could have a heart knot like the female lead on television? I brought it for you. Yin Qingqing was stunned when she saw the red heart knot. Then, 2 streams of sparkling tears flowed out of her eyes. She covered her mouth and cried out involuntarily. Zhou Hao was shocked by Yin Qingqing's reaction and hurriedly said, Cousin Qingqing, what's wrong? You? Why are you crying? Did I do something wrong? Cousin Qingqing, don't cry. Yin Qingqing shook her head and sobbed. No, you didn't do anything wrong. It was me. I was too happy. She took the heart knot and said to Zhou Hao, Xiao Hao, I was too happy. I really like this gift of yours. I really like it. As she spoke, her tears flowed out again. However, Zhou Hao felt that other than being happy, there was also a strange sadness between Yin Qingqing's brows. Yin Qingqing looked deeply at the heart knot Zhou Hao gave her. She covered her chest with it again and finally carefully put it into the bag of clothes. She wiped her tears and smiled at Zhou Hao. Xiao Hao, thank you. I really like this gift. I really like it. It's good that you like it. We have been out for a long time. Let's go back. Zhou Hao said, then held Yin Qingqing's hand and went down the mountain. Being held by Zhou Hao, Yin Qingqing's face had 2 faint red clouds. Looking at Zhou Hao's mature figure that had grown up, her eyes suddenly became a little blurred and also a little hazy with sadness. Zhou Hao, who was holding Yin Qingqing, also had a strange feeling in his heart, especially the warmth and slight moisture that came from Yin Qingqing's palm, as if it was seeping into Zhou Hao's heart a little bit at a time. When they returned to the front door of the Yin family, Zhou Hao and Yin Qingqing saw a group of villagers surrounding and watching at the door, and there was also a burst of quarreling coming from inside. Zhou Hao was startled. He quickly led Yin Qingqing through the crowd and walked in. When they passed through the crowd, Zhou Hao heard someone say, isn't that the wife of Old Wei's family? Why did she bring a man back? Other than Zhou Hao, Yin Qingqing also heard this, but she didn't say anything. She just lowered her head and followed behind Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao had no time to bother with these villagers. He and Yin Qingqing walked into the Yin family. When they arrived at the courtyard, Zhou Hao saw two dogs lying there bloody. Their stomachs had been cut open, and their intestines and internal organs were flowing out. They looked very terrifying. Yin Mudong, Yin Munin, and Yin Tong were both in the courtyard. When they saw Zhou Hao and Yin Qingqing coming back, Yin Munin hurried over. He said nervously, "You guys are back. How is it? Did anything happen outside?" Zhou Hao shook his head and asked Yin Munin, "Second uncle, what is going on? Why did these two dogs die in our yard?" Yin Mudong, the eldest uncle, walked to the door and waved at the surrounding villagers. All right, everyone, let's go back. It was just two dogs that died. There was nothing to see. All of you can go back." After saying that, he closed the door of the courtyard. Yin Tong looked at the two dogs and said, "These should not be the dogs in our house." Yin Munin shook his head and said, "No. But who threw them into our yard?" Yin Tong covered her mouth and said. At this time, she saw Yin Qingqing's face was very ugly. She looked at the two terrifying dead dogs on the ground and muttered to herself. It must have been done by Wei Quanji. Although her voice was small, Zhou Hao's hearing ability was better than others. He could clearly hear what she said. This was also the first time Zhou Hao heard Wei Quanji from Yin Qingqing's mouth. Thinking about his uncle and aunt's abnormal behavior just now, Zhou Hao immediately guessed that it must have something to do with Wei Quanji. Let's not talk about it for now. Let's deal with these two dogs, Yin Mudong said. He and Yin Munin carried the two dogs' corpses out of the yard and covered the bloodstains on the ground with sand. Back in the house, Zhou Hao asked first uncle, second uncle, what happened? Those two dogs were clearly a threat. Uncle, we are family. If there is anything, just tell us. We will definitely help. Yin Tong also said, that's right. Eldest brother, second brother. Xiao Hao is right. Quickly tell us what exactly happened. Yin Mudong and Yin Munin sighed deeply. Yin Munin said, didn't we always keep fish? 2 years ago, we contracted 4 fish ponds and brought the fish we raised to the nearby county to buy. The business was not bad. Our life is also a little better. But half a year ago, with the addition of our original 3 fish ponds, a total of 7 fish ponds were all dead. We don't know why. Besides, we owe them a few thousand yuan when we bought the fish seedlings. If we can't sell the fish, we won't be able to pay them back. Just when we have no other choice, Old Wei said that he can lend us the money first. Yin Mudong said, we borrowed 5,000 from Old Wei's family. We quickly bought the fish seedlings and reassembled them. However, no matter how careful we were, those fish seedlings still died. It turns out that the people who sold the fish seedlings to us also came to collect the debt. Hearing the words of his 2 uncles, Zhou Hao tightly furrowed his brows. He then heard Yin Munin say, how can we have the money to pay them back? That person said that if we don't pay them back, they will take away our house. At that time, Old Wei's family lent us another 5,000 yuan to pay the debt. But this way, we owe Old Wei 10,000 yuan. Yin Mudong said, we don't dare to keep fish anymore. If we think about returning the debt slowly, we will owe Old Wei 10,000 yuan. In 3 or 4 years, we will be able to pay it back. Old Wei's 10,000 yuan was paid back. However, just when our fields were about to harvest last fall, the rice in the fields all died for some reason. Without these rice grains, not only would we not have any income this year, even our food and clothing would be a problem. At this time, Zhou Hao spoke, then, that Wei family took the initiative to lend you money? Yin Mudong Yin Munin looked at Zhou Hao in surprise. Xiao Hao, how did you know? Yin Munin said, after those rice grains died, the Old Wei family saw that we were in trouble, so they lent us another 5,000 yuan. Second uncle Lu Guifeng sighed. We owe Old Wei a total of 15,000 yuan, but Old Wei and the others did not rush us. However, later on, Old Wei's son, Ji, came to us to propose marriage. He told us that as long as we lightly marry her, we don't need to return the 15,000 yuan. In addition, their family will also give us 10,000 yuan as a betrothal gift. But we know about that Ji, Yin Munin said. Although that kid is young, he is good at gambling, drinking, and having sex. He is not a good man. Not only are we unwilling to marry him, even we don't want to ruin Qingqing's life. Yin Munin touched the deeper wrinkles on his face and said, this was the first time Zhou Hao had seen his second uncle like this. In his impression, Although Yin Munin wasn't a hero who could shake the heavens and earth, he was still the pillar of the family, supporting the entire Yin family with Yin Mudong. But now, for the sake of his daughter, he had revealed such a weak and helpless expression. It really made people sigh. Yin Mudong sighed and said, "That 15,000 yuan, we won't be able to pay it back within a few years. Furthermore, Old Wei is the village chief." Yin Qingqing sat beside her mother, leaning on Lu Guifeng's shoulder. Her pretty face was covered with a thick layer of depression. Lu Guifeng held her hand and said to Zhou Hao and Yin Tong, "We have already told Old Wei that we can slowly return the money. However, Qingqing really could not marry that Aji. But Old Wei's family won't do it. They said that if Qingqing doesn't marry Aji, she will take away our house to pay the debt." "So the two dead dogs in the yard just now were their warning?" Zhou Hao asked. Yin Munin nodded. "Old Wei said that we should marry his son, Aji, in 3 months of this year," Zhou Hao said. "But cousin Qingqing not only has not reached the legal age of marriage, but she is not even 18 years old." Yin Mudong shook his head and said, "We do not talk about this in our village. Many girls can get married when they are 16 or 17 years old. Besides, Old Wei is the village chief. It is fine as long as he says it is okay." Grandma also shed tears. Why is our Yin family's daughter so miserable? She knew that her daughter, Yin Tong, had already entrusted her to an inhuman person. Now that her granddaughter, Yin Qingqing, had encountered such a thing again, it really broke her heart. Zhou Hao snorted coldly. "As long as he says it's okay, it's okay? Does he really think of me as the local emperor here? What they are doing is no different from forcefully snatching away a commoner's daughter. Their courage is not small at all." He now completely understood the reason why Yin Qingqing married a man like Wei Quanji in her previous life. It must be because of this reason. And in her previous life, Zhou Hao had not intervened. At that time, Zhou Hao also did not have the strength to intervene. So in the end, Yin Qingqing still surrendered under the might of the Wei family and married into Wei Quan's scheme. As a result, she would be devastated by Wei Quanji and her life in the future. Zhou Hao fiercely patted the armrest of the chair. With him around this time, Wei Quanji absolutely could not succeed. He said to Yin Mudong and Yin Munin, Uncle, you don't have to be afraid. It's only 15,000 yuan. It's not a problem even if it's dollars. I'll return it to them for you." Yin Mudong and Yin Munin were stunned by Zhou Hao's words. Listening to Zhou Hao's tone, it sounded like it wasn't 15,000 yuan. It was a piece of pentagram. Especially when Zhou Hao said that it wouldn't be a problem even if it was US dollars, it made them even more surprised. Although Yin Tong previously said that she earned some money, Yin Mudong and the others did not know how much money Yin Tong earned. At this time, Yin Tong also agreed with Zhou Hao's words. "That's right, big brother and second brother. Even if we don't have money, we can't just stand idly by and watch. Besides, we can indeed help now." She took out 2 deposits from her bag. "Big brother, Lu, actually, I wanted to give them to you before, but I was too busy at that time. So I delayed it until today before I could give them to you." "What?" Yin Mudong and Yin Munin asked in puzzlement. Zhou Hao took the 2 bank accounts and handed them to them. Uncle, we opened these 2 accounts for you. There is 1 million RMB in each bank, and we gave it to you." This, how can this be?" Yin Munin was shocked when he heard that there was 1 million RMB in the bank account. In this day and age, 1 million was a huge amount even to the residents of the town, not to mention the villagers. Lu Guifeng said in shock, "Tong, why? Why do you have so much money?" Even Yin Qingqing looked at Zhou Hao in shock. Zhou Hao smiled and said, "Uncle, Aunt, we actually have more than one shop. Now that we add up, we have more than 10 stores, and there will be more in the future." Speaking of this, he looked at Yin Munin and the others with gratitude. "When our family was in trouble in the past, eldest uncle and second uncle often helped us. Now that it's your family's turn to be in trouble, how can we stand idly by?" Indeed, in the past, even if Yin Mudong's family's condition wasn't very good, they would always lend Zhou Hao and his mother a helping hand. Although there weren't many of them, their gratitude was incomparably heavy, enough to make Zhou Hao feel grateful for them for the rest of his life. But, it's really too much. Tong, Xiao Hao, we can't take it," Yin Mudong said. Zhou Hao smiled and said, "Uncle, you don't have to decline. We are all family, so you don't have to be so calculative. And with this money, we can pay off the Wei family's debt. Let's see if they dare to force cousin Qingqing to marry that be *starred. Yin Mudong and Yin Munin were extremely grateful for Zhou Hao and his son's help. Furthermore, just like what Zhou Hao had said, they were all his family. There was no need for him to be so calculative. If he continued to decline the offer, it would seem like he was being hypocritical. Cousin Qing, you said that you didn't want to help us in the city, but it was actually because of the way families matter. Zhou Hao said to Yin Qing at this time, and she bit her lips and nodded. She heard Zhou Hao say again, "Then now that the matter has already been resolved, will you still refuse?" Yin Qing did not speak, but looked at Yin Munin and Lu Guifeng. Yin Munin quickly asked Zhou Hao, "Xiao Hao, what do you mean by asking Qing to help in the city?" Although Zhou Hao did not tell Yin Tong before, knowing that his son was like a mother, Yin Tong immediately guessed Zhou Hao's thoughts. She smiled at her second brother and said, "We mean to let Qing go to the city to help us take care of the business in the store." Really? Lu Guifeng was very happy when she heard that. She did not want her daughter to be stuck in the village for the rest of her life. Of course it's true. If brother and brother are interested, they can also come to the city to help us. Yin Tong smiled. Yin Mudong said, "We will not go. We are used to living in the village. We do not know anything other than farming. With this money, we want to contract some land and all kinds of fruit trees. Let Qing go. She's still young, so she should go out and see." Yin Tong and the other elders were discussing. Zhou Hao looked at Yin Qing with a smile. Yin Qing touched Zhou Hao's warm gaze, and her face secretly blushed. She lowered her head to avoid it. At this time, Zhou Hao said to Yin Mudong and Yin Munin, "First uncle and second uncle, actually I also agree with your opinion. I think the lychee and dragon eyes planted in the village are better than those in our city. If we can plant them in large quantities, it shouldn't be a problem to sell them." Right. I remember the pomegranates in the village are big and sweet. After untying the knot in his heart, Yin Munin became much more cheerful. He laughed and said, "That is because our village has a mountain spring. The water is clear and sweet. It doesn't even need to be boiled. It can be directly drunk. The lychee dragon eye planted with the spring water is also very delicious." Mountain spring water? Hearing this, Zhou Hao's heart moved. If there really was natural mountain spring water here, then rather than using fruit trees to sell fruits, it would be better to use those fruits to process and produce fruit juice. This kind of profit was much higher than ordinary fruits. At this time, he heard Yin Mudong say, "Didn't you say that some time ago, a Taiwanese came here to buy our spring water?" 3. But later on, he saw that our place was too remote and there was no road. In the end, he gave up and made the village happy. Zhou Hao thought to himself, transportation was not a problem. If he wanted to build a road from Huayu village to the outside, it would only be a few dozen kilometers at most. A few 100 million would be enough. Half a year later, not to mention a few 100 million, even if it was a few billion, Zhou Hao would not care. Furthermore, with Zhou Hao's relationship with the government, it was not difficult to build a road. The most important thing right now was to get the ownership of the mountain spring as soon as possible. At this moment, a rough knocking sound came from outside. There was also a very unpleasant hoarse male voice. "Father-in-law, open the door." "It's me, Aji, father-in-law." "It's that fellow who has come," Yin Munin said. When she heard Wei Quan calling her father-in-law, Yin Qing blushed slightly and scolded him angrily. "Shameless." Therefore, Yin Mudong, Yin Munin, and Zhou Hao walked out of the house. Yin Munin opened the door of the yard. He saw 3 men standing outside. The man in the lead was a bit thin, about 25 or 26 years old, but his face was very sallow. He stood there with his hands on his waist, and Yin Munin laughed loudly. "Say, father-in-law, where's my wife? You didn't hide her, did you?" Upon hearing the man's words, Zhou Hao immediately guessed that this man was Wei Quan. In his previous life, Zhou Hao had never seen him as his brother-in-law, so today was actually his first time seeing Wei Quanji. Yin Munin shook his head and said, "I didn't hide her, but you don't have to call me father-in-law. We, Qing, won't marry you." The smile on Wei Quanji's face immediately disappeared when he heard Yin Munin's words. He revealed a fierce expression and grabbed Yin Munin's collar and shouted, "You won't marry me? If you say you don't want to marry, so what? So what if you owe my family money? If you have the guts, then pay me back immediately. If you don't want to, then don't yell at me here." Seeing this detestable man who had ruined Yin Qing's life in his previous life, and now he wanted to take over Yin Qing, fury rose in Zhou Hao's heart. He took 2 steps forward and grabbed Wei Quanji's wrist. He stared at him coldly and said, "I will pay the money that they owe your family." Zhou Hao slightly exerted force on his 5 fingers, and Wei Quanji immediately cried out loudly. He hurriedly let go of Yin Munin's collar. "Let go, let go." Wei Quanji felt as if his wrist was about to be crushed. The pain caused his facial features to distort. Zhou Hao let out a cold snort and shook his hand away. Wei Quanji rubbed his wrist, opened his sleeve, and saw that his wrist had turned purple. He raised his head to size Zhou Hao up and down. He gritted his teeth and said, "Stinking brat, who are you?" "He is my nephew. His name is Zhou Hao," Yin Munin said to Wei Quanji. At this time, Yin Tong also walked out and took out 2 stacks of new 100 yuan notes from her bag. Zhou Hao counted out 15,000 yuan and handed it to Wei Quanji. "Here, this is the 15,000 yuan that my uncle owes your family. Quickly bring the promissory note, and I will return the money to you." Seeing Zhou Hao take out so much money at once, Yin Mudong and Yin Munin were stunned. Although Zhou Hao and his mother had given them 1,000,000 yuan in the bank account, it was not intuitive. It was just an ordinary red bank account. But now, these 10,000 yuan appeared in front of them. Both of them were very surprised. When Wei Quanji saw the money in Zhou Hao's hand, the expression on his face changed rapidly. Actually, he didn't care about the 10,000 yuan at all. What he really cared about was Yin Qingqing. The 15,000 yuan that Yin Mudong, Yin Munin, owed him was his biggest kill. He originally wanted to use this as a threat to make Yin Qingqing marry him. In fact, Yin Qingqing was not that great when she was young. However, after these 2 years of development, Yin Qingqing had become more and more graceful and graceful. There was no girl in the Huayu village who could compare to her. Thus, as the only son of the village chief, Wei Quanji had taken a fancy to such a beautiful flower. He swore that he would never give up until he married Yin Qingqing. But now, Zhou Hao's sudden appearance had ruined his plan. Furthermore, Zhou Hao had repaid the Yin family with 15,000 yuan, which meant that he had eliminated the biggest threat of Wei Quanji. How could Wei Quanji be willing to accept this? He looked at Zhou Hao maliciously. "Who the hell are you, kid? I'm warning you. You better not meddle in other people's business." Am I meddling in other people's business by helping my uncle pay his debt now? Besides, now, someone is paying his debt. You won't accept it? What's the meaning of this? Or do you have another motive? Zhou Hao stared at Wei Quanji. "You better get the promissory note back immediately and get as far away as you can with this money. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." Zhou Hao's hands had been stained with a lot of blood. Therefore, he was no longer a kind person. When he spoke, he naturally had a deterrent force. Wei Quanji subconsciously took 2 steps back when he saw Zhou Hao's gloomy and cruel gaze. However, he had been running amok in Huayu village for more than 10 years. How could he be willing to be scared in his own territory? Furthermore, he saw Yin Qingqing in the room. She was gently looking at Zhou Hao's back. This made him even more jealous. "You two, teach this kid a good lesson. Let him know what kind of place this is," Wei Quan said to his 2 companions. The 2 men immediately walked forward and surrounded Zhou Hao. Yin Munin and Yin Mudong quickly pulled Zhou Hao back and said, "Xiao Hao, be careful." Zhou Hao let go of Yin Mudong and Yin Munin. He smiled at them and said, "First uncle and second uncle, you don't have to worry. This kind of hooligan won't be able to do anything." He took a step forward and didn't need to do anything. He raised his left foot and swept it. He hit the faces of the 2 men and kicked them out of the door at the same time. They fell heavily on the ground in front of Wei Quanji. Wei Quanji walked towards the door. Zhou Hao said coldly, "I know you are thinking that a strong dragon won't suppress a local snake. If you go against him, you won't have a good ending. But what I want to say is that if you are not a fierce dragon, you will not be able to beat a river. You can use whatever you can, and I will take all of them. Let's see if you, the local snake, will win in the end. Or I, the river dragon, will win." Hearing Zhou Hao's words and seeing more and more villagers surrounding and watching, Wei Quanji gritted his teeth and turned around to leave. The 2 men who were knocked down by Zhou Hao also got up in a sorry state and fled in a hurry. The villagers outside the door clapped their hands and started discussing Zhou Hao. They were guessing who he was and why he was not afraid of the chief's son. Back in the room, Zhou Hao smiled at Yin Qingqing and said, "Cousin Qingqing, you were the one who helped me chase away Big Yellow when I was young. Now, it's my turn to chase that detestable Big Yellow away for you." Due to the sallow expression on Wei Quanji's face, he really looked like a big yellow. Therefore, when Yin Qingqing heard Zhou Hao's words, she was so amused by him that she covered her mouth and became petite. The naturally charming expression on her face made Zhou Hao lose his mind for a moment. "Silly girl, what are you looking at?" Yin Qingqing noticed that Zhou Hao's gaze was different. Her pretty face blushed, and she spat and ran back to the house. Zhou Hao came back to his senses and quickly said, "I have sinned." However, a thought suddenly came to his mind. "However, I remember that Huayu village doesn't seem to oppose the marriage of cousins." Just as this thought arose in his mind, he patted his own face twice. "D***min, what am I thinking? This is too evil." Back in the room, Yin Qingqing was still sitting beside Lu Guifeng. However, there was still some shyness on her face, and she didn't dare to look at Zhou Hao. Yin Mudong said to Zhou Hao worriedly, "Xiao Hao, Old Wei is the village chief after all. I'm afraid it's not appropriate for you to do this." "What's wrong with it? It's a lawful society now. Can we let them do whatever they want?" Zhou Hao curled his lips and said. However, he also knew that this was a lawful society. However, in some remote places, as the saying goes, the mountain is high and the emperor is far away. The county chief was undoubtedly the local emperor. Even if he did whatever he wanted, no one would dare to defy him. Zhou Hao said, "I'm very suspicious now. Uncle, the fish in your fish pond and the rice in the fields all happened because of the Wei family. It was to make you owe their family money so that they could force cousin Qing Qing to marry that Wei Quan." "What? Is this possible?" Yin Munin found it hard to believe. Their brothers had grown up in the countryside and their thinking was not as complicated as the people in the city, so they did not think that this matter might have been orchestrated by Wei Quan. "They must be scheming how to deal with us now," Zhou Hao said with a cold smile. Yin Mudong said nervously. "Then, what should we do? Fortunately, I have connections too." Zhou Hao smiled and took out a big brother. This was the first time Yin Munin and the others had seen a big brother. They had only seen him on TV. They could not help but be stunned. Zhou Hao called Zhao Dingzhou. Luckily, although it was far away, they could still make phone calls. "Mr. Zhao, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. It's you again, kid. Why? Do you want to spend New Year with me in Guangzhou?" Zhao Dingzhou said with a smile. "No, I'm at my grandmother's house now." Zhou Hao also smiled and said, "I'm looking for Mr. Zhao this time because I need your help." Zhao Dingzhou said, Tell me. I just know that it is not a good thing for you to call me." He and Zhou Hao had a good relationship to begin with. Although the two of them were close to 30 years old, they were very close. It could be said that they were a pair of old friends. Moreover, due to the Zhou Haos that Zhou Hao provided, they had made great contributions to the army and the country. Therefore, Zhao Dingzhou attached great importance to Zhou Hao. He even hoped that he could provide more medicinal formulas in the future. "It's nothing. I met a bully here. Mr. Zhao, you should know that I'm not strong enough to deal with a bully with a lot of people. That's why I want you to send some soldiers over. It's good to uphold justice and help the people get rid of evil." 3. "You dare to say that you're weak with your martial arts skills?" Zhao Dingzhou scolded him on the other side of the phone. Forget it. You were there. I will ask the other side to send some people to help you." In fact, he knew that with Zhou Hao's abilities, not to mention ordinary bullies, even the regular army would find it very difficult to deal with him. He only asked Zhao Dingzhou to help because he wanted to use the military's name to deal with him. Coincidentally, there was a military camp near Huayu village. When they received the order from Zhao Dingzhou, the highest officer in the military, the battalion commander immediately said that he would personally bring someone to help Zhou Hao. After thanking him, Zhou Hao put down the phone and smiled at Yin Munin and the others. "No problem, it's all settled." Yin Tong knew that her son was looking for the army to help. She said, "Xiao Hao, it's not good to ask the army to help, right?" "Army? Xiao Hao, do you know anyone from the army?" Yin Mudong asked in surprise. At that moment, Zhou Hao heard a lot of footsteps coming from outside. The people from the military camp should not have arrived so quickly, so it must be someone Wei Quanji had found. Zhou Hao said to Yin Qingqing and the others, "Aunt, cousin Qingqing, you guys stay here. I'll go out and take a look." Thus, Zhou Hao and Yin Mudong, Yin Munin, walked out and saw that there were already 20 to 30 people outside. They were all the helpers Wei Quan had called over. Furthermore, not only Wei Quanji, even his father, Wei Qishou, had come. Zhou Hao looked at the father and son of Wei family coldly. "What's wrong? Did you bring the promissory note?" Wei Quanji chuckled, "I did." Then, he took out 3 pieces of white paper. It was the promissory note that Yin Mudong, Yin Munin owed. There were also 2 signatures on it. However, Zhou Hao saw that the 3 bills didn't have 5,000 yuan, but 50,000 yuan, which added up to 150,000 yuan. Wei Quanji also sneered and said, "Did you see that? Your 2 uncles owe our family 150,000 yuan. Humph. Return it to us. Return it to us immediately if you have the guts." Yin Mudong and Yin Munin widened their eyes and shouted at the same time. "When did we owe you 150,000 yuan? Didn't we owe you 15,000 yuan? What 15,000 yuan? You asked us to borrow money 3 times. Every time it was 50,000 yuan, it was a total of 150,000 yuan. Wei Qishou, who was in his 50s, said with a gloomy smile. "What's wrong? You want to go back on your word?" Zhou Hao said, "All right, 150,000 it is." We will give it to you. Wei Quanji and his son's expression changed, because they originally wanted to tamper with the amount on the bill so that Yin Mudong, Yin Munin, wouldn't be able to pay it back, and then they could take the opportunity to make trouble. 150,000. We'll pay it back. Zhou Hao's words shocked everyone, including Yin Mudong and Yin Munin. Yin Mudong held Zhou Hao's hand. Xiao Hao, no, we don't owe them that much money. Zhou Hao patted Yin Mudong's hand and said to Wei Quanji and his son, but we don't have that much cash. Seeing Wei Quanji and Wei Qixio's pleased expressions, he smiled again. However, we just bought this car not long ago. It was bought for 450,000 yuan. How about we use it as collateral? Wei Qixio could be considered a knowledgeable person in the village. He could naturally tell that Zhou Hao's Audi car was very expensive. However, he still put on a stern face and said in a threatening manner, "You said it's worth 450,000, so it's worth 450,000. No, I don't trust you." Zhou Hao held his hand and narrowed his eyes as he looked at Wei Qixio and said with a smile on his face, "Then what do you want?" Wei Qixio snorted. "Why don't you return the money immediately? 150,000. Not a single cent less. Otherwise, you can let Yin Qingqing marry my son. Today, you will get the marriage certificate. Then, all the money you owe me will be written off." I think this is your real goal. The smile on Zhou Hao's face seemed to have grown even wider. Wei Qixio also had a smile on his face. So what if I am? I will tell you honestly. If you know what's good for you, then obediently let Yin Qingqing marry my son. Otherwise, I won't give up. Be careful. I'll send all of you to jail. Actually, he was so enthusiastic about letting Yin Qingqing marry Wei Quanji. If he didn't have Yin Qingqing, then he might not be ambitious. Since the matter had been settled, Zhou Hao did not want to be hypocritical with them anymore. You guys don't have to delude yourselves. My cousin's sister Qingqing will never marry this yellow dog. After saying that, he walked towards Wei Quan. Wei Quanji had seen Zhou Hao's skills before, but now he wasn't afraid. Instead, he revealed a cold smile and took out a gun from his waist. The muzzle of the gun was pointed at Zhou Hao's chin. Hee, aren't you very powerful? Hit me again if you have the guts. Let's see if your fist is faster, or my bullet is faster. Zhou Hao saw that the pistol in Wei Quanji's hand was not a regular pistol, but a self-made dirt gun. However, even though this earthen gun was not refined, it could still kill someone at such a close distance. However, Wei Quan would never know that Zhou Hao was really not afraid of bullets. His body was protected by the genuine aura and had been modified by the amber fruit. Even the desert eagle could not harm him in the slightest, let alone this crude earth spear of his. However, Zhou Hao deliberately stopped his movements and revealed a slightly frightened expression, which made Wei Quanji very proud. Wei Qixio, who was standing beside him, frowned. "Ah gee. Don't be so impudent in front of so many people. What's there to be afraid of, Dad? We're all on the same side. No one will say it out loud. Don't you think so?" Wei Quanji turned around and shouted at the 20 or so people behind him. Yes, these people were usually colluding with Wei Quanji, so they naturally colluded with him. On the other side, Yin Mudong and Yin Munin hurriedly shouted, "Chief, ah gee, don't hurt Xiao Hao." When Yin Qingqing arrived at the door, she saw that Zhou Hao was being pointed at by Wei Quanji with a spear. Her mind was also in chaos. She hurriedly begged Wei Quanji, Don't hurt Xiao Hao." Wei Quanji stared at Yin Qingqing. "You want me to let him go? Humph. It's this B***starred who doesn't know what's good for him that spoiled my good deed. If you want me to let him off, you can marry me. If you marry me, I'll spare his life." Yin Qingqing did not hesitate at all. She gritted her teeth and nodded. I promise to marry you. Please let Xiao Hao go." Tears had already spread across her face. Ha 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 ha. Hearing Yin Qingqing's words, Wei Quanji laughed complacently and patted Zhou Hao's face arrogantly. "Did you hear that? Now your cousin is begging to marry me. Let's see what else you can do as a Jianglong." Zhou Hao's lips suddenly curved upwards, but his smile looked unusually cold. He used a voice that only he and Wei Quanji could hear and said, "You will know what I am capable of immediately. I just wanted to teach you a lesson. But you made my cousin Qingqing so sad, so I can't let you go. What the hell are you talking about? How dare you be so stubborn?" Wei Quanji said angrily. At that moment, a few large military green trucks and off-road vehicles drove over. Hundreds of soldiers got out of the cars and surrounded Wei Quanji and the 20 people. Moreover, each of these soldiers was loaded with real bullets. Wei Qixio and the others were also stunned when they saw so many soldiers suddenly arrive. The battalion commander also quickly walked over. When he saw Wei Quanji and Zhou Hao, who he had pointed his gun at, he frowned. "May I ask who is Zhou Hao and Mr. Zhou here?" Zhou Hao, who was still pressed against his chin by Wei Quanji's spear, raised his hand slightly and said with a smile, "I am." The battalion commander was immediately shocked, because Zhao Dingzhou had specifically instructed him to help Zhou Hao. For an ordinary battalion commander like him, Zhao Dingzhou was a general that he would never be able to get in touch with in his entire life, so he naturally attached great importance to Zhao Dingzhou's orders. He also knew that Zhou Hao and Zhao Dingzhou definitely had a close relationship. But now, this person who had a good relationship with General Zhao was pointed at by Wei Quan with a spear. His life was in danger, so how could the battalion commander not be shocked? He immediately took out his spear and aimed it at Wei Quanji from afar. He shouted loudly, "Put down the money. Let Mr. Zhou go." This way, Wei Qishou and the others knew that these soldiers were called over by Zhou Hao. They were also surprised by Zhou Hao's ability. Wei Quanji was also shocked. He subconsciously wanted to put away his earthen spear. However, Zhou Hao secretly pointed at his body and sealed his acupuncture points, making him unable to move at all. The earthen spear was stuck in Zhou Hao's chin and did not move at all. Wei Qishou saw that his son still did not put the spear down, so he hurriedly shouted, "Aji, you can't hear me? Quickly put the spear down." However, even Wei Quanji's mute acupoint was sealed by Zhou Hao. He couldn't even speak, and only his eyeballs could be seen spinning around his body. He didn't know what was going on either. All he could do was keep moving his eyeballs, and his eyes were filled with anxiety and panic. However, in the eyes of others, such a Wei Quan was more like a villain who stubbornly refused to surrender. More than 20 men brought by the Wei father and son had been controlled by the soldiers. When Wei Qishou saw that his son was, stubbornly, holding Zhou Hao hostage, he wanted to pull him away. However, how would the battalion commander dare to let him go? He immediately ordered the two soldiers to arrest Wei Qishou. Thus, a place was left empty around Wei Quanji and Zhou Hao, who he had kidnapped. The soldiers surrounded Wei Quanji tightly, and all their guns were aimed at Wei Quanji. At this moment, Zhou Hao raised both his hands and asked the battalion commander for help. "Sir, save me." The battalion commander wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. He had received orders from Zhao Dingzhou to help Zhou Hao, and he had thought that he could use this opportunity to level up. But now, if General Zhao knew that Zhou Hao had died in front of him, his future would be ruined. "Zero," he shouted at Wei Quanji. "Put the gun down quickly. Before there are any casualties, we will reduce your crime." Everyone fell into a tense atmosphere. More and more villagers were watching from outside. They also knew that the chief's son had kidnapped Yin family's nephew with a gun. Yin Qing covered her mouth and looked at Zhou Hao, who was being kidnapped by Wei Quan. She kept praying to the heavens in her heart that nothing bad would happen to Zhou Hao. Among all of them, the one who was the most confused and scared was actually Wei Quanji himself. He really wanted to put down his gun, but his body did not listen to his commands at all, and he could not even speak. He was so scared that tears flowed out of his eyes. However, his tears made him look like a criminal who was determined to take the hostage down with him. Bang! Bang! Almost at the same time, two sounds rang out. The surrounding people all cried out in alarm, and Yin Qingqing also fainted from the darkness in front of her eyes. Under the gazes of the surrounding soldiers, Wei Quan fell straight down. There was a bullet hole on his left temple that was continuously bleeding, and Zhou Hao was still standing there without any injuries. As Zhou Hao and Wei Quan were surrounded by soldiers, the villagers outside did not know what had happened. They only heard two gunshots. Actually, the first sound came from Zhou Hao's mouth, and this sudden sound made the highly nervous battalion commander think that Wei Quanji was going to kill Zhou Hao. So he immediately shot at Wei Quanji's head. Therefore, in those two sounds, only the second sound was the real gunshot, and it was fired by the battalion commander. The battalion commander immediately walked over and asked Zhou Hao, "Mr. Zhou, are you all right?" "I'm fine." Zhou Hao shook his head. "Battalion commander, you've done a great service by bravely killing the hostage. But just now?" Battalion commander now understood that the sound was from Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao smiled. "It's okay. Anyway, this guy broke the law first. No one can say anything about it." Indeed, these soldiers were all battalion commanders, so they naturally knew what to say and what not to say. Besides, even if they did find out, no one would be able to do anything to Zhou Hao and the battalion commander. After all, Zhou Hao's actions just now were not considered illegal, and the battalion commander had done nothing wrong by killing Wei Quan. Zhou Hao patted the battalion commander on the shoulder. "Don't worry, I'll put in a good word for you in front of General Zhao." The battalion commander was delighted when he heard that. You're welcome, Mr. Zhou. You're welcome. Apart from the battalion commander and the soldiers, Wei Qisho was the only one who had witnessed what had happened. He immediately shouted at Zhou Hao, "You son of th, you caused my son's death. I will never let you go. I will definitely not let you off." Zhou Hao walked up to Wei Qisho in a few steps. When Wei Qisho saw the man who killed his son, his eyes were burning with anger, and he wished he could eat his flesh alive. However, both his arms were tightly held by the soldiers. There was nothing he could do to Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao sneered at him and said, "You said I killed your son? T." He scolded Wei Qisho mercilessly. "Everyone saw that your son held me hostage with a gun. The battalion commander killed your son to save me. Now you're saying that I killed your son? Let me tell you, your son deserved it." Wei Qisho was stunned by Zhou Hao's words. Indeed, everyone was looking at Wei Quan holding Zhou Hao hostage with his spear. Although it was Zhou Hao deliberately mimicking the sound of the gun to make the battalion commander shoot Wei Quanji to death due to mental stress. However, even the 20 or so people brought by the father and son were controlled by the soldiers outside. Except for the battalion commander and the soldiers, no one saw what had happened at that time. Wei Qisho's one-sided words were not believable at all. Besides, even if others believed him, they would not be able to do anything to Zhou Hao. At this time, Zhou Hao said to the battalion commander, "Battalion commander, do you know the person in charge of the police station in this area?" The battalion commander immediately nodded. "Yes, I do. This place is under the jurisdiction of East Hua Town. I am a good friend of the chief of the East Hua police station. This guy has been doing evil things here for many years. I think it's time to get rid of evil for the people," Zhou Hao said calmly. The battalion commander immediately understood what Zhou Hao meant. Since his son had been schemed to death by him, he naturally could not let Wei Qisho go so as to avoid any future troubles. Therefore, what Zhou Hao meant was that he wouldn't let Wei Qisho go. It was also very easy to deal with Wei Qisho. Since his son could use that self-made gun to hold hostages, as his father, he naturally wouldn't do it cleanly. The development after that was just as Zhou Hao had expected. After the battalion commander sent Wei Qisho to the police station in East Hua Town and greeted the director there, the chief would immediately investigate and collect evidence for Wei Qisho's crimes. Wei Qisho had been the chief of Huayu village for so many years, and he had committed countless crimes. It was just that the villagers did not dare to report him that allowed him to escape punishment. Now that Wei Qisho was arrested, the villagers of Huayu village were encouraged by Zhou Hao to report all the crimes of the Wei family. In fact, the crimes committed by the Wei family over the years had stunned the people of the Eastern Hua Town police station. It was a small matter to invade the farmland and fruit gardens. The Wei family father and son had also done many things to kidnap women. There was once a villager's son and wife came to Huayu village to visit him. When Wei Qisho saw that the villager's wife was beautiful, he sent people to arrest her. She had been repeatedly raped by the father and son. Later on, the villager's son found out and wanted to sue them in the county. Who knew that the Wei father and son would be so bold that they were beaten to death? Then, he insisted that they had fallen from the mountain and died. That villager had no way to sue them. In the end, he died of illness due to anger. Therefore, Wei Quan had poisoned the fish in the Yin family's fish pond and used pesticides to kill the rice in the Yin family's land. All of these were just the tip of the iceberg of the evil deeds that they had committed. With these materials, even if Wei Qisho did not sentence him to death, he would not be able to come out for the rest of his life. After sending Wei Qisho to the county police station, Yin Mudong and Yin Munin immediately invited the battalion commander into the house and greeted him with good tea and cigarettes. The two of them did not see how Zhou Hao killed Wei Quaji with a trick, so they thought it was the battalion commander who saved Zhou Hao, and the Yin family were very grateful to him. The battalion commander naturally would not expose Zhou Hao, but he had a better understanding of Zhou Hao's scheme. No wonder he had such a good relationship with General Zhao. He had killed a person with just a thought. He was even more terrifying than the real person who worked with a gun. At this moment, Zhou Hao took out 20,000 yuan in cash and handed it to the battalion commander. He smiled and said, "It's the new year. Everyone still needs to stay in the camp and not go home. Take this as my red packet for everyone." The battalion commander's eyes lit up as he looked at the 2 stacks of new $100 bills. They guarded such a remote place. Apart from hunting and eating wild animals, they really had nothing to gain. He really wanted to accept this red packet, but Zhou Hao was General Zhao's friend. If General Zhao found out about this, then your future is over. Zhou Hao naturally knew what he was thinking and said, "Don't worry, I will put in a good word for you in front of General Zhao." After saying that, he took the money from the commander of the track. Actually, This money was originally used to pay off Yin Mudong and Yin Munin's debts. But now that the Wei family was about to be destroyed, this debt naturally ceased to exist, and Zhou Hao was happy to use it as a gift. The battalion commander hurriedly received the money and praised Zhou Hao's brilliant means. Even the two subordinates behind him looked at Zhou Hao with more respect. After being polite for a while, the battalion commander also declined the Yin family's offer to let him stay for dinner, and happily left Huayu village with the soldiers. The East Hua Town police station had also sent policemen to investigate the Wei family. Yin Mudong said to Zhou Hao, "Xiao Hao, I didn't expect you to know people from the army. Arresting Old Wei this time can be considered as returning the sky to the village." His grandfather and grandmother were also endlessly praising Zhou Hao. When they heard that he was kidnapped by Wei Quan just now, they were so scared that they almost fainted. And at this time, Yin Qingqing, who had fainted earlier, had also woken up. She had also been fooled by Zhou Hao's imitation of the gunshot just now. She thought that Wei Quanji had shot Zhou Hao. She had fainted due to her excitement. Yin Munin also quickly carried her back to the bed to rest. Just as he opened his eyes, Yin Qingqing nervously shouted, "Xiao Hao! Xiao Hao!" She waved her hands so hard that she wanted to grab something. Zhou Hao quickly grabbed her hands. "Cousin, I'm here, I'm here." When she saw Zhou Hao sitting by the bed, Yin Qingqing immediately sat up and grabbed Zhou Hao's shoulder. "Xiao Hao, are you all right? I heard Wei Quan shoot. I thought you. As she spoke, she recalled the critical situation just now and started crying again. In Yin Qingqing's opinion, it was because of her that Zhou Hao was held hostage by Wei Quanji. She had been thinking about what would happen if something really happened to Zhou Hao. She would also resolutely follow Zhou Hao and not live alone in this world. Zhou Hao smiled and comforted her. "I'm fine." It turns out that Wei Quan's gun was empty. There were no bullets at all. He could not say that he was plotting against Wei Quanji, so he made up such a lie. "Really?" Yin Qingqing tightly grabbed Zhou Hao's shoulder, afraid that this was just an illusion. As long as she let go of Zhou Hao, he would disappear. When she finally confirmed that Zhou Hao was really safe and sound, she heaved a sigh of relief. "It's great that you are fine. You scared me to death." Zhou Hao stroked Yin Qingqing's slightly messy hair and smiled gently. "It's fine now." Furthermore, Wei Quanji had already been killed. Wei Qishou has also been arrested at the police station. No one will be able to bully our family in the future. Hearing Zhou Hao's gentle voice, Yin Qingqing responded softly and her mood relaxed. Before this, the Yin family had always been stuck in the dark cloud of owing money to the Wei father and son. Now that all the problems had been solved, and Zhou Hao had returned a total of 2 million to Yin Mudong, Yin Munin, Yin family's future life would only get better and better. "Xiao Hao, is it true that you want me to help you in the city?" Yin Qingqing laid on the bed and looked at Zhou Hao with her beautiful eyes. "Of course it's true. Ever since I was young, have I ever lied to my cousin once?" Zhou Hao said with a smile. 3. However, he saw Yin giving him a coquettish glance. "You still say you haven't. When you were young, you tried to make me eat that candy. You even lied to me that it was chocolate. Actually, it was just a small stone wrapped in candy paper." Zhou Hao scratched his head. "Is there such a thing? I don't even remember." "You were really bad when you were young." Yin Qingqing smiled when she recalled her childhood with Zhou Hao. "When you were little, you were afraid of the dark, so you refused to sleep alone at night. You forced me to sleep with you on the same bed. But you weren't honest even when you slept, and often touched my body." Yin Qingqing suddenly realized that the two of them were no longer children. Speaking of this, it was also not appropriate, and her face turned slightly red. Zhou Hao was also embarrassed by Yin Qingqing's words. He could only laugh dryly and say, "I was asleep at that time. How would I know about these things?" Actually, he did not sleep at all at that time. He deliberately touched Yin Qingqing's body. He only felt that hugging Yin Qingqing's soft body was very comfortable. Of course, he could not say such things out loud. Thus, for a moment, the two of them had a vague and ambiguous atmosphere. "Xiao Hao, when we get to the city, I'm afraid." In order to change this awkward topic, Yin Qingqing said, "I don't know anything. I'm afraid that I can't help you, and might even drag you down." Zhou Hao smiled and said, "What's there to worry about? No one knew everything from the beginning. I know you are so smart, cousin. You will learn it very quickly." Yin Qingqing was slightly relieved when she heard Zhou Hao's words. "When will I go back with you? I also want to go with Uncle and the others to see the fruit trees and the mountain spring." "Yes, tomorrow afternoon," Zhou Hao said. After coming out of Yin Qingqing's room, Zhou Hao saw Yin Mudong walking over with a smile on his face. "Xiao Hao, everyone in the village is talking about Old Wei. They say that Old Wei has been arrested, and the village will be peaceful from now on. While they were talking, Zhou Hao heard the sound of firecrackers coming from outside. It could be seen that the villagers hated Wei Qishou and his son. Also, Xiao Hao, the villagers said that although Old Wei was arrested, there must be a village chief in the village. Yin Mudong said, "They said they would choose me or Mu Nan as the village chief. Choose uncle and you will be the village chief?" Zhou Hao said in surprise, but he immediately understood. In fact, there were two reasons why the villagers of Huayu village wanted to choose one of Yin Mudong and Yin Munin as the village chief. The first was the Wei family, which had been acting tyrannically in Huayu village. The biggest reason for their destruction was because of the Yin family. Especially when the villagers saw that the Yin family had a good relationship with the army, they used it as a backing. After Yin Mudong or Yin Munin became the village chief, it would be very beneficial to the village. Another reason was that Yin Mudong and Yin Munin were both honest people. Unlike Wei Qishou, who bullied others with his power in Huayu village, they had a very good reputation. Now, everyone in Huayu village knew that the Yin family had a promising future. Even the earthly emperor, Wei family, had been defeated. Yin family's reputation in Huayu village had reached an extremely high level. In Zhou Hao's mind, it was very beneficial for his two uncles to be the village chief of Huayu village, especially when it came to managing the fruit garden and obtaining the rights to the mountain spring. However, whether this matter would succeed or not depended on whether his two uncles had such intentions. Therefore, Zhou Hao asked, "Eldest uncle, what do you and second uncle think?" Munin said that he doesn't want to be. Yin Mudong smiled and said, he said that Yin Munin didn't want to be the village chief, which indirectly indicated that he was interested in the position of the village chief. However, Zhou Hao still thought highly of his uncle, because the village chief of Huayu village wasn't considered a staff member. Therefore, he was not an official. He did not need to be like the people in the Xiang city government, who often had to struggle in the government. As long as the chief of Huayu village could manage the matters in Huayu village well, and Yin Mudong, Yin Munin, had also been bullied by Wei Qishou before, he knew that as the chief, he absolutely could not bully the villagers. "If eldest uncle is interested, I will support you very much. After all, you are much better than Wei Qishou." Zhou Hao smiled and said, "If you want to choose the village chief, what procedures do you need?" Yin Mudong was very happy to hear that Zhou Hao would support him. After all, he already knew that his nephew had a promising future. He was even more proficient in dealing with other people than his two brothers. He only heard him say, "It's very simple. As long as you get more than half of the villagers' support, then notify the town government and wait for them to file a document. It will be done." Zhou Hao nodded. It's indeed very simple. With the current situation, it would not be difficult for Yin Mudong to get the support of more than half of the villagers. As for the town government, as long as they spent some money to get the support, there would not be any problems. Zhou Hao said, "That's good. Uncle, you can go and fight for it. I will help you with the rest of the matters." Then, with Zhou Hao's support, the news of Yin Mudong choosing the village chief spread throughout Huayu village. Zhou Hao asked Yin Mudong to set up 100 tables of banquet in the ancestral hall of Huayu village and invited everyone in the village. His grandparents were very happy to know that Yin Mudong was going to choose the village chief. Although the village chief was not paid like the civil servants, he still had a face in the village. The villagers also supported Yin Mudong very much. After all, it was the Yin family that eliminated the evil of Huayu village, the Wei father and son. The villagers all signed their names on the consent forms. Zhou Hao also specially went to the bank outside to withdraw some cash. As long as it was the villagers who agreed to Yin Mudong being the village chief, Zhou Hao would give them 100 yuan red packet. In Huayu village, 100 yuan was not a small amount of money, let alone the villagers who sincerely supported Yin Mudong. Now, everyone knew that the Yin family's daughter, Yin Tong, had earned a lot of money. Especially after seeing the tall and handsome Zhou Hao, many of the matchmakers in the village had their eyes lit up. Those girls who were waiting to be married also focused their attention on Zhou Hao. After that, with the help of the battalion commander, Zhou Hao allowed the town government to pass the relevant documents at the first possible moment, so that Yin Mudong, the village chief, could have a proper reason to do so. Within a day, Yin Mudong had replaced Wei Qishou from an ordinary villager who still owed Wei Qishou money. He had become the village chief of Huayu village, and the drastic changes had made him suspect that he was dreaming. Setting up 100 tables of banquets in the ancestral hall and sending red packets to the villagers had cost Zhou Hao more than 300,000 yuan. Yin Mudong originally wanted to deduct the money from the bank account Zhou Hao gave him, but was rejected by Zhou Hao. "Xiao Hao, you saved me 1,000,000 yuan. I don't know how to thank you anymore. Now you spent so much money to get me elected." What should I do? Yin Mudong said to Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao smiled and said, I said I would support you as the village chief, so naturally I don't need you to pay me back. Uncle, if you continue to treat me like an outsider, you won't treat Xiao Hao as your family member. Seeing Zhou Hao say so, Yin Mudong could only say nothing more. However, he knew that Zhou Hao was interested in the fruit trees in the village and the mountain spring, so he personally brought Zhou Hao to the mountains around Huayu village. Actually, the Huayu village was very large. Adding the surrounding mountains, it had a radius of more than 10 kilometers. It was just that the villagers all lived on the flatland surrounded by mountains, so the people outside thought that the Huayu village was just a small group of buildings. The villagers only developed the mountain on the east side and planted some lychee, dragon eyes, and pomegranate trees on it. However, due to the inconvenience of transportation, these fruits were not shipped out to be sold. They were only for the villagers to digest. The farmers only gave the villagers some money as a contractual fee, but in the past, these contractual fees had directly fallen into Wei Qishou's bag. After walking around the mountain, Zhou Hao found that the lychee, dragon eyes, and pomegranate here all looked very good. This meant that the climate and land conditions in Huayu village were very suitable for their growth. Looking at the mountain range in the distance, Zhou Hao said to Yin Mudong, if all the mountains in the village are planted with lychee longan, the annual output will be very considerable. Especially now, every city in Guangdong has a lot of demand for these two fruits. In the next few years, the market prospects will be very good. But there is no road between our village and the outside world. It will be very troublesome to transport them out. Yin Mudong also knew that the biggest problem with the development of Huayu village was transportation. As the saying goes, the road leads to wealth, and without convenient transportation, it would be very difficult to develop it. However, he heard Zhou Hao say, this is not a problem. I can discuss with the town government here right now. Within half a year, this road should be completed. He turned his head and looked at Yin Mudong. Uncle, your current task is to mobilize the villagers of Huayu village and develop the surrounding land to plant lychee and dragon eyes. If the villagers don't have enough funds, we can lend them the funds. We can lend them the contractual fees, saplings, and other expenses. We can also sign a contract with them. When the fruits are ripe, we can buy them at a fixed price to guarantee their income. Buy all the fruits of the villagers? Yin Mudong asked. Yes, I will set up a fruit trading company and use the company's name to buy all the fruits. Zhou Hao said. He would set up this company with Yin Mudong and Yin Munin. If he planted the lychee dragon eye in the mountains of Huayu village, he would transport it to various cities to buy it. The annual profit should be around 20 to 30 million. Moreover, the lychee and dragon eye could be processed and made into dry goods. However, what Zhou Hao cared about the most was still the mountain spring. When Yin Mudong brought him to the mountain spring in Huayu village, Zhou Hao was really shocked. Because the amount of water in the spring was really rich, it formed a small lake halfway up the mountain. The spring water was flowing down the mountain continuously, forming a small river. He picked up a bowl and drank it. He felt that the spring water was cool, sweet, and delicious. It was much better than the bottled spring water Zhou Hao drank in his previous life. As this mountain was quite far from where the villagers lived, Zhou Hao had never been there when he was young, so he didn't know about its existence. But now, after seeing the amount and quality of the spring water, Zhou Hao made up his mind to take the rights to develop it. 2. One had to know, in the future, the famous Nong Fu Mountain Spring Company had just been established last year. They were still busy occupying the drinking water market in Shanghai, and 550 milliliters of bottled water would only be officially released in June this year. Zhou Hao could totally seize the market before them. Furthermore, what Zhou Hao wanted was not only the drinking water market, but also the fruit juice drinks market. Because the domestic juice beverage market had not officially developed yet, the unification and Masterkong from Taiwan had also hit the convenience market with their main fighting force. Therefore, Zhou Hao did not want to let the fruit juice beverage slip past his mouth. If he wanted to set up the Mountain Spring Water Company, the production line equipment and other advertising fees were more than enough. Zhou Hao's money in Hong Kong's stock market and international futures market had rolled to more than 5 billion renminbi. It was effortless for him to take out some of it to develop the company. Regarding these, Zhou Hao could only set a rough development route. As for the specific execution, he was not very good at it. But luckily, he had Zhao Yuqin, a strong female businessman, to help him. Even if Zhao Yuqin could not handle it, she could also use her relationship to find enough professional managers and production staff to develop the company. Although Zhou Hao could only set a general development route, he knew the future trend of the beverage market in the country. This advantage alone could make Zhou Hao's company invincible. After inspecting the environment of the spring, Zhou Hao returned to the village with Yin Mudong. However, just as they stepped into the door, Zhou Hao saw that the house was filled with middle-aged women. They were introducing the young ladies to Yin Tong, Grandma, and the others in the village who were waiting to be married. Why are there suddenly so many matchmakers? Zhou Hao was shocked and said, Yan's house is very lively now. The matchmakers, ranging from 40 to 80 years old, were all surrounding Yin Tong, her grandmother, and her two aunties. They were all recommending the unmarried girls they knew. From what they heard, only the girls they introduced were worthy of Zhou Hao. It really was a bit like a cucumber selling melons. When they saw Zhou Hao and Yin Mudong return, these matchmakers who looked like Red fans all smiled brightly. One of the matchmakers, who was 70 to 80 years old and had decades of experience in matchmaking, walked up to Zhou Hao with vigorous steps. She reached out her pair of withered hands and touched Zhou Hao's face. Yo yo yo, Atong, your son is really handsome. Xiao Hao, do you have a lover? Listen to Sixth Aunt. The daughter of Old Man Lu in the village is very good. She looks just like a fairy. You will definitely like her. How about I let you two meet? If you like her, then give her the betrothal gift. Zhou Hao was shocked by this matchmaker who called herself Sixth Nanny. She had to give him the betrothal gift just to meet him. Wasn't that a little too fast? Besides, if that girl is really as beautiful as a fairy, you don't have to be the matchmaker. Sixth Nanny, I appreciate your good intentions. But I'm still young, and I'm still very far from getting married. Zhou Hao said hastily. He also expressed his attitude to the overly enthusiastic matchmakers in the room. Actually, Yin Tong and the others were also very helpless, but these were all villagers from the same village after all. It was not good to chase them out. Furthermore, with so many matchmakers coming to Zhou Hao's house to propose marriage, didn't it also prove Zhou Hao's excellence? Zhou Hao could calmly face a cunning Pu Changxiu, and he could also ruthlessly plot against a bully like Wei Qishou. However, when faced with these annoying matchmakers, he couldn't scold them, and he couldn't hit them either. This left Zhou Hao at a loss as to what to do. It was not easy for him to get out of the room. Zhou Hao hurriedly ran into Yin Qingqing's room and closed the door tightly. Leaning against the door, he patted his chest and sighed. That's scary. Compared to them, I think Wei Qishou and the others are more friendly. But as soon as he looked up, he froze like a stone statue because he saw his cousin Yin Qingqing standing in front of the closet in the room. She was only wearing a pair of pants. Her upper body was half naked. Furthermore, Yin Qingqing was holding a white shirt that she was about to put on. Yin Qingqing was about to change her clothes in the room when she saw Zhou Hao suddenly push open the door and enter in a hurry. She was also shocked. She stared blankly at Zhou Hao, who was leaning against the door. 2 or 3 seconds later, Yin Qingqing reacted and opened her mouth to scream. But Zhou Hao was faster than her. He rushed over and covered her mouth. He hurriedly said, Cousin, don't call me that. I didn't do it on purpose. The reason why Yin Qingqing wanted to shout just now was just an instinctive reaction. Now that Zhou Hao had covered her mouth, she understood that if she really did, she would have cried out. She really did not know how to explain to Yin Tong, Yin Munin, and the others when they were alerted. Therefore, Yin Qingqing blinked at Zhou Hao, indicating that she wouldn't make a sound. Only then did Zhou Hao heave a sigh of relief and release Yin Qingqing. However, when he covered her mouth just now, Zhou Hao's palm also felt Yin Qingqing's soft and tender lips. At the same time, Zhou Hao, who slightly lowered his head, also saw Yin Qingqing's young body. His eyes immediately became dull. Yin Qingqing felt that her upper body was cool. When she saw Zhou Hao's eyes again, she cried out in surprise. She hurriedly hugged Zhou Hao and let herself stick close to Zhou Hao's body to cover up the spring light. Her cheeks were fiery red as she said to Zhou Hao, Don't look, close your eyes. Oh. Zhou Hao quickly agreed to close his eyes. However, because Yin Qingqing was closely attached to him, that kind of soft feeling made Zhou Hao's heart involuntarily ripple. Yin Qingqing deliberately stretched out her hand and waved in front of Zhou Hao's eyes. Don't open your eyes. Oh. Although he could not see it, the softness in front of his chest was too stimulating, making Zhou Hao's throat dry up a little. He was sure that Zhou Hao couldn't see it. Yin Qingqing slowly let go of him. She immediately put on the tight-fitting shirt and a sweater and a coat on herself. Then she let out a sigh of relief and said to Zhou Hao, That's enough. You can open your eyes now. Only then did Zhou Hao try to open one of his eyes. When he saw that Yin Qingqing had already put on her clothes, he opened his other eye as well. However, after experiencing such an awkward situation, Zhou Hao did not know what to say anymore. Yin Qingqing, on the other hand, reproached him. You didn't even knock when you entered other people's room. You are still so carefree. Zhou Hao also secretly blamed himself. Last time at young Jiabao's place, he was also like this. Because he forgot to knock on the door for a moment, he barged in and saw Yang Jiabao comforting herself. And the person he was fantasizing about was himself. He didn't think that this time it would be because of a moment of recklessness that he barged into Yin Qingqing's room. However, the beautiful scene of Yin Qingqing just now was still lingering in Zhou Hao's mind, causing him to unconsciously reminisce about it. Why are you in such a hurry? Could it be that there's a yellow dog chasing you outside? In order to forget the awkwardness just now, Yin Qingqing joked. No, no, no. But it's even scarier than a yellow dog. Zhou Hao said. Yin Qing covered her mouth and smiled. You're talking about those matchmakers, right? Hee hee, you are now famous in the village. Those girls all want to marry you. It can't be. Are all the villagers so eager to get married? Zhou Hao turned his head and said. It can't be helped. When a girl reaches her age, she will only have one way to get married. If it wasn't for you and Aunt helping, I'm afraid I would have to marry Wei Quanji now. Even now, Yin Qingqing still felt very fortunate. She felt that Zhou Hao had simply saved her life. In fact, her thinking was not wrong either. In order to avoid the entanglement of those matchmakers, Zhou Hao had been hiding in Yin Qingqing's room. The two of them talked about many interesting things about their childhood and did not feel sad about the time. Slowly, the sky outside had darkened, and there was only a dim light bulb in Yin Qingqing's room, immersing the room in darkness. At this moment, there was no longer any sound from the matchmakers outside. Only then did Zhou Hao dare to open the door and walk out. Seeing that the matchmakers had left, Zhou Hao heaved a sigh of relief. Yin Tong, on the other hand, scolded him with a smile. Child, even if you don't want to meet those girls, you don't have to treat them like this. How rude of you. Grandma, who was beside Yin Tong, held Yin Tong's hand and smiled. No wonder Xiao Hao. So many matchmakers came to ask for a kiss at the same time. This is also the first time in our village. I was also scared by them just now. Yin Qingqing was also secretly laughing at the side. She seemed to be gloating over Zhou Hao's misfortune, which made Zhou Hao look at her fiercely. The next day, the people from the Donghua town government arrived at Huayu village and sent over the relevant documents regarding Yin Mudong's appointment as the mayor of Huayu village. Zhou Hao also officially proposed to the Donghua town government to buy the rights to develop the mountain spring. This time, the person who came was a deputy director of the Donghua town government. In his eyes, Huayu village was a poor and remote place. He did not expect Zhou Hao to be interested in the mountain spring. Strictly speaking, that mountain spring belonged to the village. Therefore, Zhou Hao actually didn't need to inform Donghua town. However, in order to avoid future troubles. 3. Zhou Hao just greeted the town government, and the deputy director went straight to the point. As long as there was some handling fee, the county would prepare all the relevant documents for Zhou Hao. After some discussion, Zhou Hao and the village chief of Huayu village, Yin Mudong, decided to sell the usage rights of the spring to Zhou Hao for 1 million years. It would be used for 50 years. And this 1 million would be distributed to the villagers of Huayu village. As for the handling fee for the county, it only cost Zhou Hao 100,000 yuan. Compared to the benefits that this mountain spring would bring to Zhou Hao in the future, this 1 million yuan was really too insignificant. The county didn't even know the true value of this spring. Otherwise, they would have to get more benefits from Zhou Hao no matter what. As for the villagers of Huayu village, they normally wouldn't use that spring for food and water. Instead, they felt that Yin Mudong had brought such great benefits to the village as soon as he became the village chief, which made Yin Mudong even more popular. Big uncle, second uncle, there are 5 million yuan in this bank card. You can use this money to let the villagers grow lychee and longan fruit trees. But remember, although they are all villagers from the same village, you must set a clear contract with these loans in order to avoid any disputes in the future. Also, if you don't have enough money, inform me immediately, and I'll make up for it. Zhou Hao said to Yin Mudong and Yin Munin. As for the road that was more than 10 kilometers long from Huayu village to the outside, Zhou Hao also told the deputy director of the town government. When the deputy director heard that Zhou Hao was going to build a road there, his eyes immediately lit up. Because every time a road project like this happened, whether it was the government or the contractor, they would be able to obtain huge benefits from it. However, Zhou Hao said that this highway would not be handed over to the town government for investment, and that he would invest and implement it himself. Just like that mountain spring, the town government only needed to file the documents. Once he heard that there was no profit to be gained, the deputy director did not want to do it anymore. He even indirectly threatened Zhou Hao. If the town government did not interfere, this road would be very difficult to build. But Zhou Hao was not afraid at all, because East Hua town was under the control of Xiang City. With Gao Holu, the mayor of Xiang City, Zhou Hao wasn't afraid of East Hua Town's town government at all. Therefore, even though this deputy director threatened and enticed Zhou Hao many times, Zhou Hao was unmoved and refused to let go. Zhou Hao knew how dirty the town government was. He couldn't care less about other people's investment. However, this was his own investment. Although Zhou Hao earned hundreds of millions in Hong Kong's stock market and international futures market, but this did not mean that his money could be easily corrupted. Therefore, Zhou Hao directly called Gao Holu. Because he had introduced the Baohe group of Yang family to Gao Holu had shown his face in the government of Xiang City. Therefore, Gao Holu owed Zhou Hao a favor. Furthermore, Gao Holu knew that Zhou Hao had a close relationship with the Zhao family. Therefore, it was reasonable for him to help. With the care of Gao Holu, the Donghua town government immediately gave up. At the same time, they had also witnessed Zhou Hao's strength. As for the construction team, after Zhou Hao knew that Fan Liza had fallen in the Fong family, he took over Fong Guanwei's good friend construction company. After receiving Zhou Hao's call, Fan Liza repeatedly promised that he would immediately send the best construction team over. He would definitely get the highway out within the time Zhou Hao requested. Of course, Zhou Hao would not treat Fan Liza unfairly in terms of price. Although it was much cheaper compared to other similar types of projects, Fan Liza could still earn 10 to 20 million profit from this business. Especially since this was Zhou Hao's investment, Fan Liza's engineering team did not dare to do anything illegal. After making all the arrangements, Zhou Hao left Huayu village with Yin Tong and Yin Qingqing. Yin Qingqing did not have many clothes to begin with, so it was very convenient to pack them up. However, Yin Qingqing was very reluctant to part with her parents in Huayu village. The car drove very far, and she looked at Huayu village through the glass behind her. Don't worry, cousin Qingqing. It's not like she won't be able to come back. When this road is repaired, it will be very convenient for you to come back to the Huayu village. Your uncles and aunties will go to the Xiang City. Zhou Hao comforted Yin Qingqing.
Yes.
Yin Qingqing's heart was filled with melancholy. Fortunately, Zhou Hao and Yin Tong were by her side, which made her feel better. It was her first time in a car, and she was also very curious in the car. At the same time, she admired Yin Tong, who was sitting in the driver's seat and controlling the steering wheel calmly. Seeing that Yin Qingqing treated Yin Tong as her idol, Zhou Hao smiled at her and said, "Cousin, you don't have to be envious. When we arrive at Xiang City, I will let you get a driver's license as well. It will be much more convenient for you to come and go from now on." I can also learn to drive? Yin Qingqing asked with some anticipation and uneasiness. Yeah, even I have a driver's license. It's not the era of cycling anymore. Without a driver's license, it's very inconvenient. Yin Tong, who was in front, also smiled and said to Yin Qingqing, "Qingqing, don't be afraid. Auntie did not know how to use a driver's license before. It is very easy for her to get it." After an hour, Zhou Hao and the others returned to Xiang City. Yin Qingqing had never been to Xiang City before. She was very surprised to see the 20 to 30 stories tall buildings in the city. When she saw the people coming and going outside the car, she felt a sense of unfamiliarity and uneasiness from being in a foreign land. When she returned to the Guanghu villa and saw the skyscrapers that towered into the clouds, Yin Qingqing was even more surprised. Zhou Hao also smiled and said, "Cousin Qingqing, we live on the highest floor. From today onwards, you will also live with us." "The highest floor? How long will that take?" Yin Qingqing said in surprise. Zhou Hao smiled. "It won't take long because there are elevators here." Yin Qingqing did not know what an elevator was. When she followed Yin Tong and Zhou Hao into a small room and felt a feeling that she had never felt before, she understood that this small room was the so-called elevator. When she walked into Zhou Hao's house, Yin Qingqing was completely stunned. She had never seen such a large, luxurious, and beautiful room. Inside, Yin Qingqing did not even dare to take a step, afraid that she would dirty the imperial palace. It was only after Zhou Hao and Yin Tong persuaded her for a long time that Yin Qingqing felt a little less restrained in her heart. "Cousin Qingqing, you don't have to be nervous here. It's as good as being at Grandma's house, because this place will also be your home in the future." Zhou Hao smiled and said, "Come, I'll take you to your room to take a look." Since there were only Zhou Hao and Yin Tong at home, Zhou Hao and Yin Tong were the only two people in the house. Zhou Hao previously changed one of the rooms into a study room. The room that he had arranged for Yin Qingqing was right across from Yin Tong's room. This is my room?" Yin Qingqing stared at this spacious room with her mouth agape. She felt that it was not much smaller than the main hall in her original home, especially the closet that kept clothes. Yin Qingqing felt that there would be an extra room in this closet. "Mom's room is right across from you, and my room is upstairs." Zhou Hao helped Yin Qingqing put her clothes and luggage away. "Oh right, we have a very good neighbor, just like family. But they will only be back tonight. I will introduce you guys then." Wang Shijuan and the others were still visiting her grandmother, so they would only be back tonight. When he was helping Yin Qingqing clean her clothes, Zhou Hao found that his 17-year-old cousin did not have a bra. He thought about yesterday when he recklessly barged into her room. She was still wearing the little girl's tight-fitting shirt. This won't do. Cousin Qingqing's age is an important period of development, especially her breasts. She needs to be properly protected. When he thought of this, Yin Qingqing's breasts involuntarily surfaced in Zhou Hao's mind, and his blood started to boil. "Cousin Qingqing, I'll bring you to buy some clothes later," Zhou Hao said to Yin Qingqing. Yin Qingqing hurriedly said, "No need, my clothes are enough." "No, cousin, even though it doesn't sound good. If you put these clothes on, people outside will laugh at you. As the saying goes, Buddha relies on gold to dress, and people rely on clothes. Especially a beautiful girl like cousin. She should have better clothes to make her look better." Hearing Zhou Hao's praise, Yin Qingqing blushed slightly and answered softly. She had also seen that the clothes of the people in the city were much more fashionable than the ones on her. And she also knew that in the future, if she helped Yin Tong manage the store, she would have to come into contact with a lot more people than before. A good-looking and generous appearance was very important. Before this, Yin Tong and Zhou Hao drove around Fragrant City with Yin Qingqing, looking at the branches of Mrs. Zhou's restaurant and romance house. "Aunt, Xiao Hao, so many shops belong to us?" Yin Qingqing asked in disbelief. "Yes, so your mission in the future will not be light," Zhou Hao said with a smile. Yin Qingqing nodded heavily. "I will work hard to reduce Aunt's burden." After that, Yin Tong went to the first Mrs. Zhou's restaurant in front of the Yining Middle School to settle some matters. Zhou Hao drove this Audi to bring Yin Qingqing to buy clothes. Seeing that Zhou Hao's driving skills were much better than Yin Tong's, Yin Qingqing finally believed that he had a driving license. She could not help but admire him even more. Arriving at the pedestrian street area of the city, due to the crowded traffic, Zhou Hao parked the car in the parking lot nearby. It was Yin Qingqing's first time coming to Xiang City, and she was unfamiliar with all the roads. Zhou Hao was afraid that she would be separated, so he held her hand. Their skin touched. Both of them had a strange feeling. Zhou Hao felt that Yin Qingqing's hand was very soft and warm, and Yin Qingqing also felt that Zhou Hao's hand was wide and thick, giving people a very reliable sense of security. 4. Being held by him as he shuttled through the crowd, Yin Qingqing felt a sweet feeling in her heart. Zhou Hao brought Yin Qingqing to a nearby shopping center. This shopping center was very famous in Xiang City. Zhou Hao remembered that it was opened in 1992 or 1993, and it was a state-owned one. However, in his last life, this shopping center was unable to compete with large-scale supermarkets such as Carrefour, Big Runner. In the end, it still closed down. But now, this shopping center was still the biggest and most famous shopping center in Fragrant Sky City. Moreover, the products inside were of a higher grade. It wasn't the most important thing to the other clothes. Zhou Hao's mind was filled with thoughts of buying a few sets of bra for Yin Qingqing, so that he could protect her newly grown breasts. Yin Qingqing did not know what Zhou Hao was thinking. She just obediently followed by his side. On the second floor, Zhou Hao finally found the special area that sold underwear. However, whether it was the waiters or the guests, they were all female, which made Zhou Hao hesitate a little. Yin Qingqing was also shocked. The women in the village rarely wore bra, so she didn't know what those things that looked like covers were. But even so, she still recognized those triangular panties, and thus came out of the place. "Xiao Hao, why did you bring me here?" Yin Qingqing asked Zhou Hao with a red face. Looking at Yin Qingqing's face that was as tender as a crabapple, Zhou Hao couldn't help but exclaim in his heart. But he still whispered to her, "Cousin Qingqing, these are essential items for women. They have very good protection effects. I saw you yesterday. I saw that you didn't have official underwear, so..." "You." Hearing Zhou Hao mention the embarrassing incident yesterday, Yin Qingqing was so embarrassed and angry that she could not speak. As the two of them spoke, the women who were shopping in the underwear area began to notice them. Looking at the young couple, they couldn't help but feel curious. They even guessed that Zhou Hao and Yin Qingqing were newlyweds, and that they were here to buy private clothes for women. Seeing the increasing number of gazes around them, Zhou Hao gritted his teeth and led Yin Qingqing into the special district. He shouted to the waiter not far away, "Waiter, I want to buy bras." Everyone present was shocked by Zhou Hao's shout. Then, the women couldn't help but laugh. Yin Qingqing, who was being held by Zhou Hao, was so shy that she lowered her head and didn't dare to raise it. A young waitress walked over quickly from not far away. She looked at Zhou Hao with a smile and then smiled. Sir, are you the one who wants to buy bra? Yes. No, I bought it for her. Zhou Hao also realized the ambiguous meaning of his words just now and quickly explained. The waitress looked at the shy Yin Qingqing and saw that she had just come out of the village. The key was not the clothes that Yin Qingqing was wearing. It was that Yin Qingqing had that kind of simplicity unique to the villagers. There was another reason. This waitress also came from the countryside, so she saw the shadow of herself when she first came to the city from Yin Qingqing. She smiled at Yin Qingqing and asked, "This is your first time buying it, right?" She knew that most of the girls in the village only used small shirts to replace bras. Even after marriage, they would not wear them. Yin Qingqing nodded slightly, yes. Zhou Hao, who was beside her, asked, "Miss Waiter, please introduce some of them. We don't know anything about this." "Okay, please follow me." The waitress smiled and brought Zhou Hao and Yin Qingqing to the clothing racks in the special district. She then picked up a white cotton bra and said, "I think this lady is only 17 or 18 years old. This style is more suitable." There were about 4 types of bra models. The first type was a full-size cup, the second type was a 3/4 cup, the third type was a half cup, and the last type was a 5/8 cup. She held the white bra in her hand and explained, "This is the 3/4 cup model. It's the best combination of the 4 styles. It's also more suitable for girls who are developing. It can provide a very good protection." Zhou Hao nodded. In fact, after his rebirth, he had seen a lot of girls' bras. Wang Shijuan and Yang Jiabao were used to this kind of white 3 to 4 bra. Zhao Yuqin, on the other hand, preferred lace underwear and was more inclined towards red, purple, black, and other colors that were full of temptation. Situ Jianying's breast was almost comparable to Zhao Yuqin's, and the scale was far beyond her peers. She also liked lace bra, but she was more inclined towards white and blue, which highlighted lively colors. As for Li Rulan, who already had a skin kiss with Zhou Hao, she was more suitable. She was the type that was very delicate and delicate. She was also used to the 3/4 type of bra, but she liked pink ones. Girls with different personalities also wore different bra. Zhou Hao felt that Yin Qingqing's personality was somewhat similar to Wang Shijuan's. She was even more introverted than Wang Shijuan, so she should also like white ones. At this time, the waitress smiled at Zhou Hao and said, "Actually, very few men can put down their faces to accompany their girlfriends or wives to buy underwear. Sir, you are so considerate." "She is not mine." Zhou Hao wanted to clarify that he and Yin Qingqing were not lovers or husband and wife. However, he saw Yin Qingqing by his side lowering her head and not saying anything. He did not know why, but he could not say the words to explain. "Oh right, what is the size of this lady?" The waitress asked again. "Size?" Zhou Hao looked confused. Yin Qingqing did not know what size meant. According to Zhou Hao's memory yesterday, Yin Qingqing was about 32A or 32B. When the waitress saw Zhou Hao and Yin Qingqing's expressions, she knew what was going on, but there was nothing strange about it. Not to mention boys, even girls sometimes didn't know their sizes. She said to Yin Qingqing, "Miss, come with me. I'll help you measure it." Yin Qingqing looked at Zhou Hao, and Zhou Hao smiled at her and said, "Go on, let the waitress help you measure it." So, Yin Qingqing followed the waitress to the side. The surrounding women were still curiously looking at Zhou Hao. 5. It was also because Zhou Hao's appearance was really outstanding and his figure was tall and straight. It was very easy for him to attract the surrounding women. Not long later, the waiter who was still holding the rope ruler came back with Yin Qingqing. "This lady's size is 32B. I also helped her measure her waist and hip, respectively 22 and 32. The ratio is very good." Zhou Hao also nodded. He had seen Yin Qingqing's figure yesterday. It was that kind of petite and exquisite figure. Yin Qingqing had already returned to Zhou Hao's side and gently grabbed his sleeve. It was as if this was the only way to make her feel safe in this environment that was surrounded by all kinds of undergarments. At this time, Zhou Hao asked the waiter, "What brand of underwear is better here?" "If we look at the brand and quality, the best is Diana's underwear. It is an international brand that we have recently introduced here, but the price is relatively high." The waitress introduced it to Zhou Hao very conscientiously. "If you want a lower price, you can also choose a domestic brand. The quality is also quite good." Zhou Hao naturally hoped to give Yin Qingqing the best of these clothes, so he said, "Then let's give it a try. Diana, can we give it a try?" The waitress smiled and nodded. "If it's in the summer, we can't try it." What she meant was that it was now possible. So she took the pink, and pure white underwear of Diana and handed it to Yin Qingqing. "The locker room is over there." Yin Qingqing took the white undergarment and walked into the locker room. Zhou Hao stood outside the locker room and waited for her. But not long after, Zhou Hao heard Yin Qingqing calling him from inside. Xiao Hao, Xiao Hao. Zhou Hao thought that something had happened to her. He quickly approached the door of the locker room and said, Cousin Qingqing, I'm here. What happened? You can come in first. As she spoke, Yin Qingqing slightly opened the door of the locker room. Zhou Hao was a little hesitant, but when he thought of Yin Qingqing's young and beautiful body yesterday, a trace of anticipation rose in his heart. Finally, he turned around to look around and saw that no one was paying attention to him. The waitress just now also left, so she gritted her teeth and pushed the door open, walking into the locker room and closing the door immediately. After coming out of the locker room, Zhou Hao saw that the waitress was already standing outside. Beside her was a woman in her 30s wearing black-rimmed glasses and a ponytail. She seemed to be the manager. The waitress looked at Zhou Hao and Yin Qingqing with a difficult expression, while the manager stared at them coldly. She said stiffly, Sorry, the undergarments here are not allowed to be worn, especially those from famous brands. Zhou Hao clearly saw a look of contempt in the female manager's eyes, especially when she looked at Yin Qingqing, as if she was looking at a prisoner. Zhou Hao immediately stopped smiling. What do you mean? Are you afraid that we can't afford it? Sir, people should know their own limitations. I think the undergarments of Diana brand are too much of a burden for you. The female manager gave a fake smile. It's also our waiter's fault for not telling you the price beforehand. Hee. The undergarments you chose earlier were priced at 2,399 renminbi per unit. Yin Qingqing's expression immediately changed when she heard that the bra made from these few pieces of cloth cost over 2,000 yuan. She hurriedly said to Zhou Hao, Xiao Hao, these clothes cost more than 2,000 yuan. Then let's not take them anymore. Yin Qingqing's words made the female manager's eyes become even more unfriendly. Zhou Hao held Yin Qingqing's hand. He said to the female manager, How do you know we can't afford it? Is this how you treat your customers? The female manager sneered. Not only do I know you can't afford it, I also suspect that you're trying to steal our shopping center's good. She reached out her right hand to Zhou Hao. Hurry up and hand over the underwear, or else I will search your bodies. That tone seemed to have determined that Zhou Hao and Yin Qingqing had already stolen something. Zhou Hao was really angered by this unreasonable female manager. He said, Do you know that you are slandering me? You know very well whether you are slandering me or not. I advise you to cooperate with me. Otherwise, if I let the police come, you will not be able to live well. The female manager looked at Zhou Hao and Yin Qingqing fearlessly. If my guess is correct, then Diana is already wearing her undergarments. She turned her head and said to the female attendant beside her, Quickly call the security guards over. I want to search her body. Manager, this. The waitress obviously wanted to help Zhou Hao and the others, but the manager immediately got angry. You dare not listen to me? Do you want to get swept up and sold? A minute, you're going too far. Zhou Hao cursed coldly, then took out his mobile phone. When the female manager saw Zhou Hao's mobile phone, her expression immediately changed. Because at this time, having a mobile phone was a symbol of identity. An ordinary mobile phone cost tens of thousands of yuan. Zhou Hao said to the waitress, Choose 20 sets of Diana's underwear for me. It's the size from earlier. Choose some of the colors and see how much it costs. The waitress already knew that Zhou Hao was not an ordinary person. She was hesitating if she should do as Zhou Hao said. She heard Zhou Hao say, Hurry up and go. Even you think I can't afford it. No. At that moment, she couldn't care less about offending the manager. She turned around and chose 20 sets of Diana underwear of various colors for Yin Qingqing. The female manager was already stunned as she stared blankly at Zhou Hao. Not long later, the female attendant came over and said to Zhou Hao, Sir, 20 sets of Diana underwear, a total of 36,700 yuan. I've already given you a 10% discount. Zhou Hao nodded and then dialed Zhao Yuqin's Galaxy Securities number. Because of Zhou Hao's relationship with Zhao Yuqin, and Zhou Hao had quite a number of accounts there, he almost became half the boss of Galaxy Securities. The staff there often helped Zhou Hao withdraw large amounts of cash. At this time, the female manager already knew that she had kicked an iron board, so she quickly changed her expression. She quickly came over to apologize to Zhou Hao. Sir, I was blind. I didn't know what was good for me. I misunderstood you. Please forgive me. Zhou Hao snorted coldly. Didn't you say that we can't afford the things here? Didn't you say we stole your things? The surrounding customers were also attracted by the situation here. They were also very angry with the female manager who wore colored glasses and looked at people. At this time, they also cheered for Zhou Hao. Not long after, the staff of Galaxy Securities came over. There were also 6 bank staff in uniform, carrying 4 very heavy bags and walking over. The surrounding people looked at these bank employees in puzzlement. They saw the male employee from the Galaxy Securities come in front of Zhou Hao and respectfully said, "Mr. Zhou, I have brought the money as you instructed." Zhou Hao nodded. He said to the female manager, "Now that I have brought the money, don't say I stole something from you." The bank employees placed the 4 bags in front of the female manager. When he opened the bags, he saw that they were filled with 1 yuan coins. These 4 bags contained 36,700 yuan coins. It turned out that Zhou Hao had asked the people of Galaxy Securities to exchange all 36,000 yuan for 1 yuan coins. As Galaxy Securities had a good relationship with all the banks, the bank that provided the exchange service also sent people to help them move the 40,000 yuan. "Okay, manager, count it now. Is this place enough to pay 36,700 yuan? If you count it clearly, don't say we gave less." Zhou Hao said to the female manager with a sneer. The female manager looked at Zhou Hao with a bitter face and looked at the big bags of coins. She didn't count or not. She secretly regretted her actions just now. At this time, the general manager of the shopping center had heard the news and rushed over. Seeing the angry Zhou Hao and the big bags of coins, he hurriedly apologized to Zhou Hao. "Mr. Zhou, I'm really sorry. It was our staff that neglected you. You are a magnanimous person. Don't fuss about it with her." Zhou Hao looked at the general manager, who was in his 40s and had a big belly. "You know me? Haha, even if I have never seen you, I have heard of you, Mr. Zhou. Mayor Gao and Secretary Xiao are full of praise for you." This shopping center was a state-owned enterprise, so the general manager was also a staff member. He had the opportunity to interact with Gao Holu and Xiao Yu, so naturally, he had heard of Zhou Hao. At the same time, he secretly blamed his subordinate for provoking Zhou Hao. He knew that Kazuo Koike, who had come to Xiang City to invest in the metal industry, had paid a total of 100 million yuan for offending Zhou Hao. "Actually, I don't want to make a fuss about it, but there is a problem with the way you female managers treat guests." Zhou Hao crossed his arms and said, "On the contrary, this waitress is much better, and her service is also very thorough. I think it's better to let her be the manager." Yes. I will definitely make adjustments later." The general manager quickly smiled and said. The waitress who served Zhou Hao and Yin Qingqing just now was considered to have met a benefactor this time. As for the female manager who had been arrogant earlier, she had a dejected look on her face at this moment. At this moment, the general manager pointed at the few bags of coins on the ground. "Mr. Zhou, then these coins?" Zhou Hao smiled as if it was a matter of course. "We paid for the things we bought, general manager. Don't tell me you don't want to take them because they are coins." No. "Then I will represent the mall and thank Mr. Zhou for coming." The general manager smiled bitterly. He could only ask someone to take the coins back to the bank and exchange them for banknotes later. After this small disturbance settled, the people from Galaxy Securities and the bank went back. In order to apologize to Zhou Hao, the general manager also promised that he and Yin Qingqing would buy for free here today. Zhou Hao had the principle of not taking advantage of others for free, so he accepted it without any politeness. Since he still needed to buy clothes, Zhou Hao first deposited the 20 sets of underwear here. After leaving the underwear area, Yin Qingqing said to Zhou Hao, "Xiao Hao, isn't what we did just now too much? Who asked that guy to look down on us? He even dared to slander us for stealing things." Zhou Hao snorted. "It's fine if she looks down on me, but if she dares to insult my family, I will definitely not let her go." Hearing that Zhou Hao treated him as a family member, and the reason why he was so furious just now was also because of him, Yin Qingqing felt a sense of happiness from being protected. When she looked at Zhou Hao's resolute face, her heart softened. Following that, Zhou Hao and Yin Qingqing walked around the shopping center and carefully selected more than 10 sets of clothes for her. After leaving the shopping center, Zhou Hao brought Yin Qingqing to a beauty center. With Yin Qingqing's young and beautiful appearance, she naturally did not need to do any whitening to wrinkle her hair. However, this beauty center also did a hairdresser service. Therefore, Zhou Hao had them cut a relatively simple and generous hairstyle for Yin Qingqing. After coming out of the beauty center, Yin Qingqing had already changed into the new clothes she had just bought. She was wearing a chiffon shirt, along with a yellow leather windbreaker, and a pair of dark blue straight jeans. This was a pair of jeans that Zhou Hao had made for her. It seemed to be more mature than Yin Qing's actual age, but it was not lacking in fashion and youth. In particular, Yin Qingqing was already very beautiful to begin with, so the moment she appeared, she immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding pedestrians. Yin Qingqing was not used to this kind of dressing. When she saw the gazes of others, she asked Zhou Hao anxiously, "Xiao Hao, does this dress really look good? Trust me, you are much more beautiful than those models and celebrities. Zhou Hao was also very satisfied with his own thoughts. He thought to himself, as expected, people rely on their clothes. After changing into such a set of clothes, Yin Qingqing looked just like the fashionable beauties in the big cities in London and New York. After driving back to the Lakeview Manor, the sky was already covered by the night sky. Wang Shijuan, Lu Shiping, and the rest had also returned. Zhou Hao, you are back. Wang Shijuan immediately greeted Zhou Hao when she saw him return. However, when she saw the charming face of Zhou Hao, she stopped in her tracks. The excitement on her face faded a little. Zhou Hao, this elder sister is... Zhou Hao immediately introduced the two of them. Shijuan, this is my cousin Yin Qingqing. She will live with us in the future. Cousin Qingqing, this is our neighbor Wang Shijuan, who has been with us for more than 10 years. She is also my good friend. Sister Qingqing. Hello, you can just call me Shijuan. Wang Shijuan immediately revealed a friendly smile to Yin Qingqing. Shijuan, I just came here and do not know anything. You need to give me more guidance. Yin Qingqing also liked the reserved and friendly Wang Shijuan very much. Lu Shiping had also received a call from Yin Tong just now and knew that Yin Qingqing would help them run Mrs. Zhou's restaurant and romance house, cake shop. Lu Shiping did not think that it was Zhou Hao and Yin Tong who did not believe her and deliberately found a relative to monitor her. Because the life of their family now was brought by Zhou Hao. Even 30% of the shares of the Tongguan company would belong to her in the future. If Zhou Hao didn't believe her, he wouldn't have done so in the past. Therefore, she sincerely welcomed Yin Qingqing's arrival. Zhou Hao also told Lu Shiping that he hoped she could teach Yin Qingqing how to do business. Madam Lu, I will definitely work hard to learn. Yin Qingqing sincerely said to Lu Shiping. Lu Shiping liked Yin Qingqing at first glance because she felt that Yin Qingqing was a pragmatic person and was not as superficial and impatient as others. Wang Shijuan and Yin Qingqing were very familiar with each other very quickly. Perhaps it was because the two of them had similar personalities that they got along very well. However, what made Zhou Hao helpless was that the two girls were talking about the embarrassing things that happened when he was young. For example, Yin Qingqing told Wang Shijuan that when he was young, he had tried to pee on the bed when he was at his grandmother's house during summer vacation. It made Wang Shijuan cover her mouth and laugh. Wang Shijuan also told Yin Qingqing that Zhou Hao got lost in school when he was in primary school and was unable to find his classroom for a long time. Regarding these unbearable childhood memories, Zhou Hao himself didn't want to mention them anymore, but he became the laughingstock of the two girls' conversation. However, when Yin Qingqing heard Wang Shijuan say that it would take some time for Zhou Hao to leave Xiang City the day after tomorrow, she immediately revealed a desolate expression. She said to Zhou Hao, "We just met not long ago and you are leaving?" That's right, that's right. Even Wang Shijuan could not help but have some resentment. Even the spring festival is not over yet. Zhou Hao, on the other hand, was very mature and said, "It can't be helped. Business is more important." Since they were going to go to Guangxi with Xiao Jiming the day after tomorrow, Xiao Jiming and Xiao Nanyue, father and son, would come over tonight to have a meal with Zhou Hao and the others. Wang Shijuan and Yin Qingqing were both good housekeepers and were good at cooking. In addition to Yin Tong and Lu Shiping, the two virtuous mothers, the four of them quickly made a table full of sumptuous dinner. Zhou Hao and Wang Zhongcai, the two boys, sat on the sofa and watched TV lazily, as if they were enjoying the show. Not long after, Xiao Jiming and Xiao Nanyue arrived. Yin Tong immediately called them father and son to take a seat. This was the first time Yin Qingqing had seen Xiao Jiming and his son. Zhou Hao introduced them to her. Cousin Qingqing, this is my senior brother, Xiao Nanyue, and this is my only son, Xiao Jiming. Yin Qingqing immediately greeted the two of them in a friendly manner. However, the moment Xiao Jiming saw Yin Qingqing, he was stunned. His gaze was dull as he looked at Yin Qingqing's elegant and refined face. His entire person was motionless like a statue. Jiming, Jiming. Xiao Nanyue pushed Xiao Jiming. What's wrong with you? Only then did Xiao Jiming come back to his senses, but his face immediately flushed red. Even his ears were hot. He said to his father, "Oh, nothing, nothing." Then he hurriedly lowered his head to avoid Yin Qingqing's gaze, but he was a little restless. On the other side, Wang Zhongcai smiled and said, "I'm afraid that when he sees Sister Qingqing so beautiful, he will fall in love at first sight." As soon as Wang Zhongcai said this, Xiao Jiming immediately denied it and said, "No, it's nothing. I just thought of something." He carefully looked at Yin Qingqing, who was sitting opposite him, and saw that she didn't take Wang Zhongcai's words to heart. The friendly smile on his face relaxed a little, but he also felt a little disappointed for some reason. Lu Shiping knocked Wang Zhongsai's head with her chopsticks, talking nonsense at such a young age. Yin Tong, however, smiled and said, Jiming is not young anymore. I am afraid he is already 25 years old. It is time to find a girlfriend. Otherwise, your dad will keep nagging you. I've already told him, but this child is the same as me. Both of them have stubborn tempers. Xiao Nanyue smiled and said, Plus, I met that bad woman earlier. I'm afraid she has cast a shadow in my heart. Sigh, I can't care that much anyway. My children and grandchildren will have their own children's blessings. As long as he's happy, that's all. Dad, what are you talking about? Although Xiao Jiming was an adult, his face was still relatively thin. Xiao Nanyue saying these things in front of so many people made him feel ashamed. However, Zhou Hao, who was beside him, frowned slightly because he had noticed the expression on Xiao Jiming's face when he saw Yin Qingqing. It was clearly a sign of love at first sight. At this moment, Yin Tong smiled and said, But Jiming, Qingqing is a good girl. She then turned to Yin Qing, who was beside her, and said with a smile, Qingqing, Jiming graduated from the medical college. He is very good at both medicine and medicine. He is honest and sincere. He is a good boy that is hard to come by. Auntie, he is still young. Yin Qingqing secretly glanced at Zhou Hao over there, and then said to Yin Tong, Hee, that's true. Qingqing is not even 18 years old this year. Yin Tong smiled and said, Jiming, if you are really interested in us, you will have to wait another 2 or 3 years. Xiao Jiming was so ashamed that he could not say anything. He could only pick up the rice bowl and stuff it into his mouth to avoid the awkward atmosphere. After the meal, Wang Shijuan and Yin Qingqing helped to clean up the bowls and chopsticks. Zhou Hao and Xiao Nanyue chatted about the herbs in the living room. Although Xiao Jiming was also sitting with Xiao Nanyue and Zhou Hao, his eyes would occasionally glance at Yin Qingqing. After washing the bowls and chopsticks, Yin Qingqing followed Wang Shijuan to the Sky Garden to chat. At this time, Xiao Nanyue received a call from his pharmacy staff and walked over to answer the call. Xiao Jiming sat on the sofa with Zhou Hao. Xiao Jiming grabbed his pants on his knees and wanted to say something but did not say anything. Zhou Hao saw his absent-minded look and said, Jiming, just say what you want to say. We are not outsiders. Xiao Jiming paused for a moment and took a deep breath. As if he had gathered up a lot of courage, he said to Zhou Hao, Little Marshal Uncle, your cousin. Seeing Xiao Jiming like this, Zhou Hao thought to himself, Jiming, did he really fall in love with cousin Qingqing at first sight? In fact, Xiao Jiming had all kinds of good conditions. He was pure and kind, filial to his parents, and he was also talented. He was a good man who would be popular in any era. Compared to the Wei Quanji who destroyed Yin Qingqing's life in his previous life, he was much better. In theory, if Yin Qingqing was with Xiao Jiming, it would be a very good result. However, Zhou Hao did not know why, but he felt very uncomfortable in his heart, as if he had been grabbed by an invisible hand. It was as if the thing he loved had been taken by someone else. He looked at Xiao Jiming very seriously and said slowly, Jiming, tell me honestly, do you like my cousin? Hearing Zhou Hao's direct words, Xiao Jiming was stunned. I. But after opening his mouth, he lowered his head with a red face. How could Zhou Hao not know what his reaction meant? Clearly, he fell in love with Yin Qingqing at first sight. My head hurts. Zhou Hao secretly complained in his heart. For some reason, he seemed to have already regarded Yin Qingqing as something under his wings, not allowing anyone to touch her. Although Yin Qingqing was his cousin, if something really happened to them, they wouldn't be recognized by society. However, in Huayu village, marriage between cousins was not a behavior that would be condemned. Strictly speaking, according to the customs of Huayu village, their attitude towards marriage between cousins was neither advocating nor objecting. Zhou Hao's grandmother was also his grandfather's cousin. Zhou Hao was also conflicted. In his previous life, when he went back to Huayu village and saw Yin Qingqing, who had been devastated after marriage, the hatred he had for Wei Quan was extremely strong. He hated him for harming Yin Qingqing's entire life. Therefore, in this life, his merciless plot against Wei Quanji to kill him under the spear of the battalion commander might not have anything to do with the hatred in Zhou Hao's previous life. In his previous life, Zhou Hao was unable to protect Yin Qingqing, so now he wanted to eradicate everyone who hurt her. Perhaps, he would have done so long ago. In his entire life, Zhou Hao already had that kind of vague love for Yin Qingqing, which was why he hated Wei Quan so much. But now, the other party was Xiao Jiming. Zhou Hao could be ruthless to Wei Quanji and Wei Qishou. It could even be said that he was cruel and merciless. However, he could not be cruel to Xiao Jiming. In name, he was his junior disciple. Furthermore, Zhou Hao had long regarded Xiao Jiming as his confidant and friend. He could not be so cruel to him just because Xiao Jiming fell in love with Yin Qingqing at first sight. At this moment, Yin Tong came over and said to Xiao Jiming with a smile, "Jiming, when you saw Qingqing just now, you were stunned. Tell me, do you really like our Qingqing?" "Madam, Chuning said, "Don't be shy. If you like her, it means you like her. It's not like it's against the law." Yin Tong sat down as she spoke. "Let me tell you, our family's Qingqing is really a good girl. Not only is she gentle and kind, but she is also intelligent and virtuous. She is a person who can really live a life. I only told you when I saw that you were not bad. A good girl like Qingqing will definitely be pursued by many people in the future." Yin Tong was now like a matchmaker in Huayu village. Zhou Hao frowned and said, "Mom, cousin Qingqing is only 18 years old is not enough. The law stipulates that you need to be 20 years old before you can get married." Yin Tong glared at Zhou Hao. "Being able to get married at 20 years old doesn't mean that you need to be 20 years old to be able to date. I didn't ask them to get married now." She turned to Xiao Jiming and said, "You guys can start dating first. After 2 or 3 years, if you really think it's appropriate, then you can get married." Zhou Hao said, "Mom, you didn't ask cousin Qingqing. How did you know she would agree?" Yin Tong looked at Zhou Hao strangely. "I'm talking about your cousin. Why are you so nervous? It's not like I'm asking you to date." I. Zhou Hao was at a loss for words. He did not know what to say. He could not say that his cousin was mine. No one could touch her. Ignoring Yin Tong, who had turned into a red woman, and Xiao Jiming, who looked like a pure and innocent boy, Zhou Hao left the living room and went upstairs to the sky garden. There were 3 lamps in the sky garden, which were in the European style. They gave off a hazy yellow light and shone on the flowers around them. The fragrance of the flowers in the air was very pleasant. Yin Qingqing sat on the swing in the middle of the garden. In a flash, she raised her head and looked at the romantic starry sky in the sky. Wang Shijuan, who had just come up with her, was nowhere to be seen. Hearing Zhou Hao's footsteps, Yin Qingqing turned around and smiled at him. "Xiao Hao." Under the stars, under the dim lights and under the colorful flowers, Yin Qingqing, who had a smile on her face, looked like a fairy among the flowers. Her beautiful figure made Zhou Hao's heart beat uncontrollably. Yin Qingqing was amused by Zhou Hao's silly look. "What are you looking at?" Zhou Hao came back to his senses and walked over with a smile. He also sat on the swing. "Cousin Qingqing, I think you should wear the clothes back to the village. You're so beautiful now, it's very easy for you to attract bees and butterflies." Yin Qingqing blushed slightly when she heard Zhou Hao praise her for acting cool that night. "I see that you've lived in the city for so many years, and you're as glib-tongued as the people in the city. By the way, where's Shijuan? Didn't she come up with you just now?" Zhou Hao asked. Yin Qing said softly, "Madame Lu was looking for her just now, so she went down." Looking at the blooming flowers around her, she sincerely praised, "I didn't think that there would be such a beautiful garden up here. It's too beautiful. No matter how beautiful it is, it can't be more beautiful than cousin." Zhou Hao couldn't help but say as he looked at Yin Qingqing's gem-like, beautiful eyes. He said, "Now I understand why people in the ancient times used the term moonflower shame to describe beautiful women. Cousin, even flowers are shy like you." Yin Qingqing had grown up in Huayu village since she was a child. She had only heard the male lead praise the female lead like this on television. In reality, she had never heard anyone praise her like this, especially since this person was Zhou Hao, who had an extremely good relationship with her. She held her face and said with a smile, "If you praise me like this again, I'm afraid my face will turn as red as a tomato." "I'm telling the truth," Zhou Hao said. "By the way, cousin, what do you think about Jiming?" "Jiming?" Zhou Hao changed the topic too quickly. It took Yin Qingqing a while to react. "You mean Mr. Xiao? He's a pretty good person. I heard from Aunt that he's also proficient in traditional Chinese medicine, Western medicine, and he even graduated from university. He's really amazing." In this era, university students were very amazing. Moreover, Yin Qingqing felt that being a doctor was very amazing. In Huayu village, that old doctor who specialized in iron and steel was very respected by the villagers. During the New Year and New Year, there were always people who gave him gifts. Hearing Yin Qingqing praise Xiao Jiming so much, Zhou Hao felt very unhappy in his heart. Perhaps it could be said that he was a little jealous. He asked Yin Qingqing, "I'm not talking about his career. I'm talking about how he looks like from a man's point of view." "Then he's also a good man. I think he's quite forgiving." Yin Qingqing smiled and said, "Just now, he wanted to help us clean up the bowls and chopsticks. I think he's usually a good man who knows how to be considerate of others." When Zhou Hao heard this, his heart ached even more, but he still took a deep breath and asked, then, Cousin Qing, do you like him? I do. Yin Qing smiled as if it was a matter of course. Of course I like Mr. Xiao. Yin Qing's words were like a sharp sword piercing into Zhou Hao's heart. He felt dizzy and only felt that the stars in the sky were eclipsed. The surrounding flower fragrance also ceased to exist. Mr. Xiao is a good person. Shi Juan also said that she likes Mr. Xiao very much. At this time, he heard Yin Qing say. Zhou Hao trembled all over and nervously grabbed Yin Qing's arm. What? You said Shi Juan also likes gymming? Yes, why? Yin Qing looked at Zhou Hao with a strange expression. Mr. Xiao is so good. Don't you like him? Do you have any misunderstanding? Staring at Yin Qing blankly, Zhou Hao finally understood that he had misunderstood. The like Yin Qing said wasn't the like he wanted to say. No, I was just shocked by you. Zhou Hao patted his chest and said, when did I scare you? Yin Qing was confused by Zhou Hao. What's wrong with you? Why are you acting weird? Zhou Hao looked at Yin Qing seriously. Cousin Qing, I just asked you if you like gymming. If you want to marry him, are you willing? Yin Qing was stunned, as if she didn't expect Zhou Hao to ask her such a question. Slowly, she frowned, and the look in her eyes became complicated. After a while, she said softly, what about you? Are you willing to let me marry him? Me? Zhou Hao was also puzzled. In fact, Yin Qing misunderstood Zhou Hao. She thought it was Zhou Hao who wanted to marry Xiao Jiming. Seeing Yin Qing pursed her lips and look at him, Zhou Hao hesitated for a moment. He did not know what Yin Qing meant by that. However, he asked himself in his heart. Of course, he did not want Yin Qing to be with Xiao Jiming. Thus, he gritted his teeth and said resolutely, of course I don't want to. Zhou Hao's words, however, made Yin Qing feel warm like the spring sun. The nervousness and fear in her heart disappeared along with Zhou Hao's words. Looking at Zhou Hao's determined expression, she said, since you are unwilling, then, I will listen to you. Her voice was very soft, but also very solemn, as if she was making an oath to a mountain and sea alliance. Listen to me? Zhou Hao muttered to himself, unable to understand the meaning of Yin Qing's words. However, he was sure that she would not marry Xiao Jiming. Zhou Hao smiled and said, but, didn't you just say that Jiming is a very good man? You just said that he is a good man who knows how to be considerate of others. Yin Qing glanced at Zhou Hao with a coquettish look, as if she was secretly blaming his wooden head. Jiming is a good man. Even my mother admires him. Why don't you like him? Zhou Hao asked with a smile. Yin Qing now understood the meaning of like. She looked at Zhou Hao, lowered her head, and said softly, my body is not clean anymore. How? How can I still marry someone else? Although Yin Qing's voice was soft, it was undoubtedly a shocking bomb in Zhou Hao's ears. His mind was blank, and his ears kept repeating Yin Qing's words just now. My body is not clean anymore. Could it be that Wei Kuaji, that person who killed 1,000 blades, had long ago done something to cousin's sister and did that beast thing? Zhou Hao said in his heart, however, according to what master taught me previously, cousin's sister's eyebrows have not dispersed, and her nose has not opened yet. She is clearly a virgin. When he was in Shoning Mountain, Dr. Gongsun had taught Zhou Hao some physiognomy related to medicine. Among them, there was a way to judge a virgin based on appearance. Therefore, Zhou Hao felt strange when Yin Qing said that she was no longer innocent. In order to understand the doubts in her happiness, he asked, Cousin Qing asked, did someone bully you? If you say it out loud, I will definitely seek justice for you. Yin Qing glanced at Zhou Hao, then pouted slightly and said, yes, someone bullied me. Who is it? Who bullied you, cousin? Zhou Hao was shocked. He was afraid that Yin Qing would really be killed by someone else. Who else? Isn't it you? Yin Qing said angrily to Zhou Hao. He was changing his clothes in the room, but you barged in for no reason. I have been seen by you. You are the one who bullied me. Hearing Yin Qing's words, Zhou Hao was stunned for a long time. Finally, he let out a long sigh. He thought that it turned out that she had said that his body was no longer pure. This was what she meant. He had just been frightened by Yin Qing's words when his right hand grabbed the iron pillar that supported the swing. Now that he had relaxed, the place he grabbed onto the iron pillar began to distort, leaving behind a few clear finger marks. However, there was another problem. The one who saw Yin Qing's body was himself. In other words, the main culprit behind the innocence of her body was also him. Zhou Hao's heart palpitated when he saw Yin Qing's coquettish and shy appearance. He probed, cousin sister Qingqing, could it be that you can't get married like this? Yin Qingqing also lowered her head. My mom said that a girl's body can only be seen by her husband. You want me? How can I get married? When Zhou Hao heard this, he really wanted to say to Yin Qingqing, since that's the case, why don't you just marry me? Of course, he could not say such words, especially when Yin Qingqing was being reserved. A traditional and strong girl couldn't joke around. Just like that, the two of them did not speak anymore. There was a kind of awkward atmosphere between them that made people's hearts go chaotic. Yin Qingqing still lowered her head. Her gaze lingered on the flowers on the ground uneasily. Zhou Hao also deliberately raised his head to look at the sky. He did not know that he was looking at that star. In the air, other than the fragrance of flowers, Zhou Hao also smelled the faint virgin fragrance on Yin Qingqing's body. Ripples appeared in his heart as his hand quietly reached towards Yin Qingqing's shoulder, wanting to pull her into his embrace. Yin Qingqing also seemed to have noticed Zhou Hao's sneaky actions, but she did not dodge. She still sat there quietly, as if waiting for Zhou Hao's hand. Zhou Hao, Mr. Xiao and the others are leaving. Aunt Yin asked you to go down and send them off. Wang Shijuan's voice suddenly came, scaring Zhou Hao and Yin Qingqing to sit away a little. Zhou Hao's hand also withdrew at lightning speed, as if nothing had happened. After staying in Xiang City for 2 days, Zhou Hao and Xiao Jiming were going to Guangxi to start their search for herbs. Xiao Hao, be careful when you go to Guangxi. This is for you. In the waiting room, Yin Qingqing gave Zhou Hao a comrade made of red rope. She had just studied there and spent half a night to make this bond. Zhou Hao carefully put the heart knot into the inner pocket in his arms and said to Yin Qingqing, "Thank you, cousin Qingqing." Yin Tong then said to Zhou Hao, "I have already helped you apply for leave at the school. You don't have to worry. But don't be afraid. Come back as soon as you finish what you need to do. Don't worry about us. Got it?" "Got it, Mom." Zhou Hao smiled and said, "The plane is about to take off. We have to leave now." He waved to Lu Shiping and Wang Shijuan, and then went to the boarding gate with Xiao Jiming. Xiao Jiming took a few steps forward and turned his head to look at Yin Qingqing, who was behind him. There was a look of reluctance on his face. Although he was encouraged by Yin Tong, he did not dare to meet Yin Qingqing these 2 days. He could only think of this girl who did not seem to belong to the mortal world in his heart. Zhou Hao, who was beside her, knew that Yin Qingqing would not like Xiao Jiming, so he relaxed his heart. Although Xiao Jiming had a crush on Yin Qingqing, Zhou Hao knew that this would not end well for him. Instead, he felt a little pity for him. He patted Xiao Jiming on the shoulder. "Don't look anymore. Let's go." Xiao Jiming nodded and boarded the plane with Zhou Hao. On the plane, Xiao Jiming said to Zhou Hao enviously, "You are good. Your cousin gave you a gift." Since Zhou Hao and Yin Qingqing were cousins, Xiao Jiming did not have any doubts about them. He only thought that the kinship knot was a normal gift from his cousin. Zhou Hao felt warm in his heart, as if there were traces of heat coming from the kindling. Although he felt some sympathy for Xiao Jiming, Zhou Hao would never let go of Yin Qingqing's question. Therefore, he could only apologize to Xiao Jiming in his heart. The plane soon arrived at Guilin, and Yang Dongshin and Yang Jiabao had already arrived at the airport to wait for Zhou Hao and the others. When Yang Jiabao saw Zhou Hao and Xiao Jiming coming out of the exit, she immediately waved her arms at Zhou Hao, her face filled with excitement. Zhou Hao was also very happy to see this unruly but cute Qian Miss Jean. He couldn't help but quicken his pace. When he arrived in front of Yang Dongshin and Xiao Jiming, Yang Dongshin smiled at Zhou Hao and Xiao Jiming. "Happy New Year, Happy New Year." After saying that, he gave both of them a red packet. At this time, Yang Jiabao also grabbed Zhou Hao's hand and walked out. She smiled and said, "Hurry up and leave. Grandpa and the others are already waiting for you at home." Yang Dongshin smiled and shook his head when he saw his daughter dragging Zhou Hao out of the airport. About 100 meters away from Yang Dongshin and Xiao Jiming, Yang Jiabao finally slowed down. She also tightly held Zhou Hao's arm, turned her head, and smiled at him. "Smelly pervert, do you miss me?" Zhou Hao shrugged and smiled. "I have only been away for a few days. Why would I miss you?" Seeing Yang Jiabao's angry face, he reached out and pinched her cute little nose. "You must be joking. How can I not miss you? You even think about it every day and every night. You can't sleep even if you think about it." Only then did Yang Jiabao's anger turn into joy. At the same time, her face turned red as she spat at Zhou Hao. "What do you mean you can't sleep? It's so ugly." "What's so ugly? What I said is true." Zhou Hao pretended to be innocent and said, "Without you accompanying me, I really can't sleep. I'm not talking to you anymore." Yang Jiabao turned around shyly but did not let go of Zhou Hao's hand. The two of them held hands and walked out of the airport. They went to a black Toyota van outside. The driver in the car was still the same Aze from last time. Zhou Hao already knew his name was Yang Zhengze. Regarding the situation of Yang Jiabao and Zhou Hao's 10 fingers interlocking, Yang Zhengze turned a blind eye and kept looking at the steering wheel. Yang Dongshin and Xiao Jiming also quickly came out of the airport and sat in the car together. Only then did Yang Jiabao let go of Zhou Hao's hand and seriously followed him to sit at the back of the business car. Xiao Hao, Jiming, where do you think you are going to find herbs this time? Yang Dongshin asked in the car. Zhou Hao said, this time, we are going to look for the herbs in Huanan, Hubei, and Sichuan. Yang Dongshin nodded. In that case, I will ask someone to help you. Our Yang family has some business in these few places. Let the people there be your guides. Dad, I want to go too. Yang Jiabao, who was at the back, said in a sweet voice. Yang Dongshin shook his head. Not this time. You are going to take the college entrance exam this year. You cannot delay it. What are you afraid of? In any case, with my results, it won't be a problem for me to get into a key university. Yang Jiabao pouted and said. Yang Dongshin knew that this daughter would not take things too seriously, so he deliberately put on a stern face and said, nonsense. How can this be child's play? You have to know that the college entrance exam is the same as the previous imperial examinations. It is of utmost importance. Back then, your brother was the top scholar in Guangxi province and entered Beijing University. Don't embarrass our Yang family. Zhou Hao was also very surprised when he heard Yang Dongshin's words. What? Brother Yang is the top scholar in the province. Due to his relationship with Yang Jiabao, Zhou Hao had changed his way of addressing Yang Xiaogua as Brother Yang. However, even though the old grudges between the two had disappeared, Yang Xiaogua was not the kind of person who would reveal his feelings easily. And Zhou Hao would not do such a hot and cold thing. So these two men did not have any common topics to talk about. Now, hearing from Yang Dongshin that Yang Xiaogua, who had a serious expression all day long, was actually the provincial top scholar, Zhou Hao found it hard to believe. Yang Dongshin's face revealed a proud expression. That's right. However, his results aren't very outstanding. Otherwise, I would have sent him to study abroad. You have to know, I also graduated from the United States Stanley University. The meaning of his words was that although his son was amazing, but he is still not as good as me. However, he heard Yang Jiabao whisper into Zhou Hao's ear, don't listen to his nonsense. My mother has already said it. When he saw that the country had recovered its college entrance exam, he wanted to apply for a university. Who knew that he was still 2 points away from getting into university? In the end, it was his grandpa who spent money to send him to America to study. I really thought that he relied on his own strength to go overseas. Hearing Yang Jiabao mock Yang Dongshin like this, Zhou Hao could not help but laugh. Yang Dongshin could not hear the whispers between his daughter and Zhou Hao, and he kept bragging about his past glory. Yang Jiabao, on the other hand, could not accompany Zhou Hao this time because she wanted to participate in the revision for the college entrance examination. But just as Yang Dongshin said, the college entrance examination was as important as the imperial examinations in ancient times. Zhou Hao would not let Yang Jiabao sacrifice herself for personal reasons. Perhaps it was because they inherited the intelligence of Luo Jingqian. Yang Jiabao and her brother Yang Xiaogua had been very smart since they were young. It was very easy for them to learn anything. Especially Yang Xiaogua, who could definitely be said to be well-versed in both civil and martial arts, and Yang Jiabao was not bad either, even though she did not study day and night like other hardworking students. She was still a little playful, but her results every year were within the top 3 in the school. Just as Yang Dongshin was still recalling his glory in the past, the phone in his arms rang. He stopped talking and took out his phone. Hello, I'm Yang Dongshin. Zhou Hao's hearing ability was different from ordinary people. He also heard the man on the other side of the phone say to Yang Dongshin, Old Yang, it's me, Gu Changming. What did you think about the matter that I talked to you about last time? Are you interested in my fruit garden? Yang Dongshin said with some difficulty. Gu, it's not that I don't want to help you, Yang Dongshin said, but our Baohe group doesn't have this kind of business. Besides, none of my friends and business partners do fruit business. I'm sorry, old Gu. I really can't help you. After putting down the phone, Zhou Hao deliberately asked, Uncle Yang, who is it? He naturally could not let Yang Dongshin know that he could hear their conversation. After all, it was impolite. Oh, it's an old friend of mine. He has 2 big orange orchards. Originally, the orange in his 2 orchards were sold to the orange juice company in Guangzhou. However, many orange juice companies had closed down in recent years. His orchards have lost their sales, and he's been losing money for 3 years. That's why he wanted to sell those 2 orchards. Zhou Hao asked, Are those 2 gardens very big? Where are they? Yang Dongshin said, They are more than 10,000 acres. One is in Guangdong, and the other is in Guangxi. What? Xiao Hao, are you interested? Yang Dongshin was just casually asking, but he saw Zhou Hao nod his head. Yes. That's right, Uncle Yang. Recently, I wanted to set up a beverage company, and I was worried about not having a source of fruit. Can you help me ask your friend about the price? Why do you suddenly want to open a beverage company? Yang Dongshin was a little confused, but he still said, he told me the price before. Because he was in a hurry to sell it, the price was low. The 2 orchards cost 60 million. Compared to 10 years later, the 60 million at this time was much more valuable, and the purchasing power was very strong. However, Zhou Hao thought that 60 million yuan could buy 2 orange orchards that were more than 10,000 acres. It was very cheap. However, he still needed to look at the environment and the output of the fruit gardens. Yang Dongshin continued to introduce the orchards to Zhou Hao. Old Gu's fruit garden in Guangxi is more than 10,000 acres, and the annual production can be maintained at 40 to 50,000 tons. The orange produced in his fruit gardens are juicy and sweet, and is very suitable to be processed into fruit juice. Moreover, he has never used those high residual pesticides because he is afraid that it will affect the quality of the orange. If his 2 orchards really closed down, then it would really be a pity. Zhou Hao followed Yang Dongshin back to the manor. As the spring festival had yet to end, the Yang family manor was still decorated with colorful lanterns and lanterns. A large orange was placed in front of the doors of the villas, and there were many red packets tied to it. It was very festive. Yang Hongzhao and Yang Hongri were very happy to see Zhou Hao and Xiao Jiming. Zhou Hao also saw Yang Jiabao's third grandfather, Yang Hongyu, who was the deputy governor of Jiangxi province. Xiao Hao, it's our first time meeting. When we were in Jiangxi, I heard big brother and second brother often talk about you. I still have to thank you for your help to Yang family. Yang Hongyue kindly smiled at Zhou Hao. Third grandfather, you are too polite. Zhou Hao hurriedly smiled and said. Yang Hongyue and her husband had specially come back for the spring festival. His daughter and son-in-law had also come back with him, as well as his grandson, who was still in high school. Yang Hongyue had heard about Zhou Hao from her 2 brothers a long time ago, and was deeply moved by Zhou Hao, the great benefactor of the Yang family. When she saw Zhou Hao this time, she also felt that this young man had a different temperament from the others. As a third-generation member, compared to the reserved Yang Xiaogua, Yang Hongyue's grandson, Yang Xiaozu, was much more active in the outside world. He was a typical sunny young man, and he had a good chat with Zhou Hao. Perhaps it was because Zhou Hao was indebted to the Yang family, or perhaps it was because Yang Hongyue had heard about the ambiguous relationship between Zhou Hao and Yang Jiabao from her family. Therefore, he simply regarded Zhou Hao as a part of the Yang family. He pulled Zhou Hao along and chatted with him from all over the world. He was not restricted by the official circles at all. Xiao Hao, I heard from Dong Shun that you are still investing in the stock market. Yang Hongyue said to Zhou Hao. There shouldn't be any problem, right? At the beginning of the year, the stock market in Shanghai and Shenzhen fell rapidly. Also, the higher-ups have clearly issued many policies to suppress the overheating of the stock market. I think that in the next few years, the domestic stock market won't have any major rises. As a person in the government, especially Yang Hongyue's position wasn't low, so he knew some insider policies in the country. Zhou Hao said with a smile, It's okay, third grandpa. I no longer invest in the domestic stock market. My main investment target now is Hong Kong stock market and international futures market. In fact, the reason Zhou Hao wanted to leave the domestic stock market was not because the domestic stock market had plunged during this period of time. It was also because the domestic financial market development was still not perfect, but compared to overseas, the capital flow was too small. Furthermore, the domestic stock market policy was too strong. On the one hand, the domestic stock market was very likely to fluctuate due to the government's policies. On the other hand, the domestic financial market would also be easily hyped up and become the money-making machine for the various bankers. From a practical point of view, Zhou Hao's ambition was too great. The domestic financial market was simply not enough to satisfy his appetite. The two of them chatted and talked about the fruit garden. Yang Hongyue said, I just heard from Dong Shun that you want to set up a beverage company and also want to buy his friend's fruit garden. Yes, third grandpa, Zhou Hao said. Yang Hongyue thought for a moment and said, Many of the orchards are not in good condition now. Do you think you owe money to invest in them? Zhou Hao shook his head. Third grandpa, actually, I had to think twice before I decided to do this. Bottles of drinking water, which would become a common commodity in the future, had yet to become popular. 2 years later, the famous Farmer's Mountain Spring, which would be famous in the north and south of the Great River, had only just been established. It was still struggling to obtain a market in Shanghai. Therefore, Zhou Hao must seize the initiative before them. Now, he already had the rights to develop that mountain spring in Huayu village, but he was not satisfied. He still wanted to seize the spring water resources in the country before known Fushan Spring, Waha, and other companies, just like Changbai Mountains Jingyu County, which was known as the Mineral Spring Water City in the future. There were hundreds of tons of mountain spring water in that place, and the mountain spring water could be directly drunk. In the future, one of the 4 water sources would be the Ronggrass Spring in Jingyu County. As for the other large part of the beverage market, fruit juice drinks, it was also the prey that Zhou Hao coveted. Although there had been fruit juice in the country for a long time, it had yet to truly become popular until now. Most fruit juice production companies were still state-owned. Due to the system and management deficiencies of state-owned enterprises, these fruit juice companies did not have good marketing results. In the future, they would be squeezed out of the market by private companies and foreign companies that had invaded the domestic market. In particular, Coca-Cola and other foreign companies would occupy a large portion of the market in the future. That was why Zhou Hao decided to use his foresight advantage to prevent the juice beverage market from falling into foreigners' hands. Also, Zhou Hao would definitely not let go of the iced tea beverages that would become popular all over the country in the future. As the consumption rate of the people in the country increased rapidly, the prospects of the beverage market would continue to expand. After Zhou Hao explained all these factors to Yang Hongyue was even more impressed by this young man who was only in his teens. Even the professors in famous universities could not express these views. Xiao Hao, are you really confident that the domestic beverage market will develop? Yang Hongyue asked. Yes, I am confident, Zhou Hao said with a firm expression. What we need to be careful of is to not let this growing market fall into foreigners' hands. Yang Hongyue nodded. Then when does your company plan to start production? Because many fruit juice companies in Jiangxi province do not operate well, the orchards that provide fruit for them are in trouble. If you're interested, I can help you contact them. Zhou Hao said, actually, I do not have to buy those orchards. I can sign a contract with them and order their products in advance. But what I mean is, I want them to only supply me with one company. Yang Hongyue smiled and said, that's not a problem. Your request can be added to the contract terms. They were all worried about the sales. If the fruits in the garden could not be sold, they could only stay there and become moldy. Now that they have a big client like you, they will definitely agree. And the price will also be lower. Zhou Hao was also very happy, because Yang Hongyue was also a big member of Jiangxi. With his help, things would naturally go much smoother. After that, Yang Hongzhou specially set up a banquet to welcome Zhou Hao and Xiao Jiming. Regarding Zhou Hao and Xiao Jiming, Yang Hongzhou and the others had long regarded them as their own family. Luo Jingqian, who was beside Yang Dongshan, also enthusiastically added food for Zhou Hao. She looked at Zhou Hao as if she was looking at her son-in-law. After returning to the guest room arranged by the Yang family, Zhou Hao called Zhao Yuqin, who was far away in Beijing. Little pervert, you have arrived in Guangxi, right? How are you getting along with that young lady from the Yang family? Zhao Yuqin's soft and mellow voice came through the phone. Before coming to Guangxi the last time, Zhao Yuqin had told Zhou Hao not to provoke Yang Jiabao. She did not expect that her words had really come true. Zhou Hao really hooked up with Yang Jiabao. So when he heard what Zhao Yuqin said, Zhou Hao felt guilty and his tone was ambiguous. He quickly changed the topic. Sister, how are you doing in Beijing? Is the old man and the others all right? Zhao Yuqin smiled. It's still all right. It's rare for him to be able to run and jump at his age. I'm pretty good in Beijing too. It's just that some people are a little annoying. Who dares to bother elder sister? Zhou Hao asked curiously. It's those stinky men like you, Zhao Yuqin complained. Each and every one of them is very annoying. They invited me to eat and invite me to the ball. Zhou Hao knew that Zhao Yuqin not only had good looks, but also had such a prominent family background. Those government officials and second-generation heirs in the capital all flocked to her. He smiled and said, then sister, you didn't agree to them, right? However, he heard Zhao Yuqin say with a lovely smile, anyway, you are not by elder sister's side anymore. Sometimes when I am bored, I will accompany them. Zhou Hao did not speak when he heard her on the phone. Zhao Yuqin felt proud and uneasy. What is it? Jealous? Zhou Hao deliberately said in a muffled voice. Yeah, I'm jealous. Who asked sister to accompany those stinky men? Actually, he knew Zhao Yuqin was teasing him on purpose. If she was really interested in those men, she wouldn't have waited until today. Zhao Yuqin was indeed very nervous about Zhou Hao, the little pervert that she was worried about. When she heard Zhou Hao's dull tone, she thought that he was really angry. She quickly explained, sister is joking? Those guys are not you. How could older sister agree to them? All right, I know elder sister is joking. I am also joking. Zhou Hao's laughter was transmitted to the phone. Ha, you little rascal. You even fooled elder sister. Zhao Yuqin kept pouting. After fooling around for a while, Zhou Hao told Zhao Yuqin that he wanted to set up a beverage company. Zhao Yuqin agreed with his proposal. In Asia, Japan, Taiwan, and Hong Kong, which are about to return, the fruit juicer market has been developed to a large extent. I also expected that the domestic beverage market would be developed this year. Xiao Hao, it is also a good time for you to choose this time to enter. However, my suggestion is that this company should be registered in Hong Kong. Because after returning, in order to smoothly complete this transition period, the domestic policy on the Hong Kong business will be relatively more favorable, and the restrictions on the policy will be relatively smaller. We'll do as you say, sister. Zhou Hao said. By the way, sister, I also want to buy a few advanced production lines from overseas. Zhao Yuqin said. That's good too. I think it's about the production equipment for bottled drinks. Germany's H&AMK is also very good. We can order a few sets from them, but the price is higher. It doesn't matter if the price is higher. The most important thing is the quality and efficiency pass. Zhou Hao said. Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin's phone call went on for more than an hour, discussing the various matters of the beverage company that was about to be established. Zhou Hao told Zhao Yuqin that he wanted to buy the rights to develop the mining spring in Jingyu County in Changbai Mountain. Zhao Yuqin said that after the spring festival, she would send someone over to take a look. In addition to the rights to mine spring and the problem of the source of the fruit, Zhou Hao also mentioned the formula of the beverage to Zhao Yuqin and asked her to pay more attention to experts in this area. Zhao Yuqin's suggestion also made Zhou Hao very tempted. According to Zhao Yuqin's suggestion, many state-owned beverage companies were currently closed due to poor management. Zhou Hao and the others could use this opportunity to poach those senior professionals. And this matter was naturally left to Zhao Yuqin, who had a wide network of people. Sister, letting you do so many things is really hard on you, Zhou Hao said with a sigh. Zhao Yuqin smiled. Who asked me to meet your nemesis? I think my life will be ruined by your hands. After ending the call, Zhou Hao walked out of the room and saw Yang Jiabao, who was looking for him. Yang Jiabao looked at him in confusion. Are you sleeping in the room? Not coming out for more than an hour. Yes. I just took an afternoon nap. It was so comfortable. It was just that there was no one by my side to accompany me. It was a little hard to sleep alone. Zhou Hao said with a smile. Yang Jiabao was more and more used to Zhou Hao's teasing. She just blushed a little and said, My dad was looking for you. He said he would take you to his friend's fruit garden to take a look. Sure. Zhou Hao smiled brightly. He left the manor with Yang Dongshan, and Yang Jiabao and Xiao Jiming followed him. Gu Changming's fruit garden was in Wuzhou, about 300 kilometers away from Guilin. Yang Dongshan had already called Gu Changming in advance, saying that someone was interested in his fruit garden. When Gu Changming, who was in a predicament, heard this, he immediately became excited. On the one hand, he was extremely grateful for Yang Dongshan's help, and on the other hand, he was also eagerly waiting for Zhou Hao and the others to arrive. A distance of more than 300 kilometers. Due to the convenient transportation, Zhou Hao and the others only took less than 2 hours to arrive. This fruit garden was located on the outskirts of Wuzhou. It covered an area of over 10,000 acres. Rows of orange trees were neatly planted on a vast piece of land. Of course, it was only the beginning of spring at the end of winter, and the trees wouldn't bear fruit. This was because the ripening period of the orange was in the 11th month of October every year. Gu Changming gave Yang Dongshan a warm hug the moment he saw him, and said with a smile, Old Yang, no matter if this matter can be accomplished, I owe you a favor. He raised his head and looked behind Yang Dongshan. Oh right, where's the Mr. Zhou you were talking about? He hasn't arrived yet? Mr. Gu, I think I'm the Mr. Zhou you were talking about. At this time, Zhou Hao, who was beside Yang Dongshan, smiled at Gu Changming. Hearing Zhou Hao's words, Gu Changming was stunned. Because his first impression was that the Mr. Zhou Yang Dongshan introduced to him was at least 40 years old. Because this deal involved millions of funds. The person who could afford so much money was a boss of a big company. When he saw Zhou Hao just now, he thought that it was Yang Dongshan's nephew. At this time, Yang Dongshan also said to him, That's right. This is the person I mentioned to you who is interested in your fruit garden. But you can just call him Xiao Hao. Gu Changming knew that Yang Dongshan would not joke with him like this, so he was sure that Zhou Hao was the one who was willing to pay for his garden. He quickly reached out his hand to Zhou Hao. Then I won't be polite and call you Xiao Hao. After that, Gu Changming didn't bother to be polite with Zhou Hao and the others. He directly brought them to tour the fruit garden. This fruit garden mainly planted ice sweet orange and umbilical orange. They were both juicy and sweet types that were very popular. On the way to tour, Xiao Jiming seriously looked at the surrounding orange trees and even walked over from time to time to carefully observe them. This friend has studied orange trees as well? Gu Changming asked Xiao Jiming curiously. Xiao Jiming smiled. Because traditional Chinese medicines sometimes need to identify herbs, so I have some knowledge in botany and agriculture. He pointed to the orange tree beside him. Mr. Gu, the orange tree here is strong and open. It also has thick leaves and round branches. It grows very well. Gu Changming immediately gave Xiao Jiming a thumbs up when he heard that. An expert, an expert. Xiao Jiming just scratched his head and returned to Zhou Hao's side with a smile. Zhou Hao looked at Xiao Jiming and could not help but feel a little emotional. This junior nephew of his was really versatile and had a good character. He was a very good man. It was just that he liked Yin Qingqing, but it was destined to be a fruitless bitter love. After walking around in Gu Changming's garden, Zhou Hao felt that the planting environment here was very good. According to Xiao Jiming's opinion, Gu Changming's orange tree grew very well. Although it was not mature yet, the quality of the fruit must be very good. Uncle Gu, do you really want to give up this place? After all, you made it with one hand and one leg. Zhou Hao said to Gu Changming with a regretful expression on his face. Gu Changming sighed. I didn't want to do that either. It turns out that the companies that ordered from me have almost closed down. The fruit market in the surrounding area has almost been occupied by others. There's no room for me to set up a foothold at all. He said to Zhou Hao, Xiao Hao, although I also want you to buy my fruit garden, I also want to remind you. If there is no market for it, the fruit garden will lose a lot of money every year. You have to think about it carefully. Zhou Hao said, actually, there's a compromise. Uncle Gu, I can sign a contract with you to buy the fruits in your fruit garden. That way, you won't have to sell the fruit garden. I can even pay you the money first. You can only give it to me at the price when the fruits are ripe. After discussing with Zhao Yuqin, he also felt that he did not need to buy the orchards. After all, he was not an expert in this field. He might as well directly sign the transaction contract and let himself directly take charge of Gu Changming's sales. This way, he wouldn't have to spend time and effort to manage the orchards, but he would also be able to guarantee the source of the fruits. Hearing Zhou Hao say this, Gu Changming was also stunned. In fact, he didn't want to give up the garden either. After all, he had poured too much effort into it. And his biggest problem now was that the fruits could not be sold. Since Zhou Hao had signed a purchase contract with him to guarantee the sales of the fruit garden, this problem no longer existed. Xiao Hao, are you really willing to pay the money first? Gu Changming asked. Because the fruit garden had suffered losses year after year, he owed a lot of money to others. That was why he wanted to sell the fruit garden. Zhou Hao smiled and said, You don't trust me. Don't tell me you don't trust Uncle Yang. But Uncle Gu, you can only provide me with fruits in the future. You can't provide it to others. No problem, Gu Changming said. Without further ado, Zhou Hao immediately signed a 10-year contract with Gu Changming. As Zhou Hao's company had yet to be established, this contract was signed under Zhou Hao's personal name. Gu Changming's 2 orchards could produce a total of 70,000 tons of orange per year. As for the price, Gu Changming's offer was 20% lower than the ones he sold to fruit juice companies. Zhou Hao estimated that this year's production would need to be paid to Gu Changming by 36 million this year. If Gu Changming's orchards could not reach this amount, it would be replenished next year. Because Zhou Hao's money was still in the stock market and the futures market, the money transferred to Gu Changming was paid by the Baohe group of Yang family. However, with Zhou Hao's relationship with Yang family, this money was naturally not a problem. Especially since Yang Dongshan had already treated Zhou Hao as his future son-in-law. Even if Zhou Hao did not return the money, he felt that it was fine. After rejecting Gu Changming's invitation to stay for dinner, Zhou Hao and Xiao Jiming followed Yang Dongshan back to Guilin. When they returned to the Yang family manor, the sky was already dark. Yang Hongyue's family went to the urban area to tour Guilin. Yang Hongxiao and Yang Hongyue went to Shizishan's side because they wanted to rebuild the Yang family's old residence there. There was also Yang Xiaogua, who was currently learning how to manage the Baohe group. Therefore, Zhou Hao only saw him once in the morning when he came to the Yang family's manor, so he rushed back to the Baohe group to work. Aya, Jingqian, it's been a long time since we last went to the streets to have a meal. Let's have another romantic day today. Yang Dongshan purposely told Luo Jingqian. Luo Jingqian wanted to come over, so she immediately smiled. Only now did you know that you only know how to work all day long. As they spoke, the couple left together. Looking at their backs as they left, Xiao Jiming seemed to have understood something. He said to Zhou Hao, Martial uncle, I want to go back to my room and see the drawings of the herbs you gave me. Then he hurried back to his room. Therefore, only Zhou Hao and young Jiabao were left in the hall, looking at each other. I say, they didn't do it on purpose, did they? Zhou Hao smiled helplessly. How would they know? Young Jiabao rolled her eyes at him, but her face was red. She turned her head and looked around. She saw that the people of Yang family were no longer around. Even the servants were nowhere to be found. Zhou Hao chuckled and reached out his hand to hug young Jiabao. He then sat her on the sofa behind him. Young Jiabao screamed and fell into Zhou Hao's arms. She raised her fist and punched his firm chest. Pervert, let me go. I'm afraid you won't let me go. Zhou Hao smiled and put his right hand on young Jiabao's slim waist. His left hand easily untied the buttons on her shirt. Young Jiabao did not resist and just lied in Zhou Hao's arms, letting his devil claw reach into her clothes. Smelly pervert, take a look. Is it a bit bigger? Young Jiabao asked weakly. He leaned close to young Jiabao's ear and practically bit her earlobe. Did you massage it these few days? Young Jiabao's face immediately turned red from Zhou Hao's words, but she still lightly nodded, and then buried her face in Zhou Hao's arms, not daring to lift it up. Her appearance made Zhou Hao's lust even more restless. He lowered his head and kissed all the way from her forehead to her soft and seductive lips. At the same time, the buttons on young Jiabao's shirt were also completely unlocked by Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao's hand even unbuttoned the buttons on her jeans and gently drilled into them like a snake. Zhou Hao also felt very uncomfortable. Ever since Li Ruolin went back to accompany her parents, it had been a long time since Zhou Hao had been dirty. He impatiently picked young Jiabao up and walked towards the room upstairs. Young Jiabao, on the other hand, was still in his arms. Both of her hands were around his neck, and their lips had not parted. Zhou Hao pushed open the door with his shoulders and closed it with his feet. He hugged young Jiabao and fell on the soft bed. This time, the entire Yang family was giving them a chance. No one would disturb them, so Zhou Hao no longer had any scruples. He quickly took off his shirt, revealing his strong muscles, which made young Jiabao on the bed blush and her heart beat. Zhou Hao put his hands on the bed and looked down at young Jiabao from above. Zhou Hao slowly lied down and heard Zhou Hao staring at young Jiabao's face and smiling gently. Good treasure. You won't be able to escape today. However, just as Zhou Hao was admiring young Jiabao's beautiful body, the phone in the hall downstairs rang. Zhou Hao was slightly stunned. Then he smiled at young Jiabao and said, "Don't worry about it. There will be a servant to answer." After saying that, he took off young Jiabao's underwear that had already been taken off her knees. However, that annoying ringtone did not stop. It was also not like what Zhou Hao thought. There were servants to pick it up. Could it be something important? Young Jiabao also opened her eyes and asked, "What is more important than what we are doing now?" Zhou Hao said. However, the phone rang with all its might, making it hard for the two of them to continue. Young Jiabao gently pushed Zhou Hao away. "I think I should go down and take a look." After saying that, she picked up a nightdress and put it on before leaving the room and going into the hall. Zhou Hao, who was completely naked, hid on the bed with his face facing upwards. He was extremely resentful towards the person who called. On the other hand, young Jiabao rushed to the main hall and picked up the microphone to put it beside her ear. She heard Luo Jingqian's voice over the phone. "It took you so long to answer the phone. Don't tell me you are really doing that?" Young Jiabao was shocked by Luo Jingqian's words. She quickly said, "Mom, where did you think you were going? When did we do that? Oh right, why did you call back?" She was glad that Luo Jingqian was not here. Otherwise, one look and she could tell that she was guilty. Luo Jingqian smiled and said, "I called to see if you guys had crossed the line. My good daughter, listen to your mother. Mommy wasn't against you guys getting into a relationship. However, this kind of thing is still too early for you. Especially you are 3 years older than Xiao Hao. You have to be rational." "I know, Mom. You are very naggy," young Jiabao said helplessly. She did not think that Luo Jingqian would deliberately call back for this matter. Furthermore, it was really Luo Jingqian who hit the nail on the head. If she did not check this phone call in time, her daughter would really be eaten by Zhou Hao. After putting down the phone, young Tubao's cheeks reddened as he walked towards the room. Luo Jingqian's words were still lingering in his mind. What she said was right. Young Jiabao and Zhou Hao were still young, so it was indeed not appropriate for such a thing to happen. Furthermore, young Jiabao had already thought that if it was not for the fact that they were accidentally carrying a child, it would be troublesome at that time. However, when she thought about having a child with Zhou Hao, young Jiabao's flushed face revealed a look of fascination. There was even a little bit of maternal nature being emitted. When she came to the room, Young Jiabao saw Zhou Hao lying on her bed with his face facing upwards. The evil dragon between his legs was still soaring into the sky with a ferocious look. It did not seem to have any intention of restraining itself. "Who is calling?" Zhou Hao asked. "It's Mom." Young Jiabao slightly tilted her head and did not look at Zhou Hao's body, because she had just cursed him to kill him. She did not expect that it would actually happen halfway. At this time, young Jiabao sat beside the bed and said to Zhou Hao with her back facing him, "Zhou Hao, Mother said that we are still young and cannot do this kind of thing. She said that this is not good for us." Hearing this, Zhou Hao could not help but have a trace of resentment towards Luo Jingqian. If she did not stop in time, the two of them would have become good friends. However, he couldn't blame her. After all, Luo Jingqian was doing this for her daughter's sake. After being entangled for a long time, after young Jiabao's technique finally improved, Zhou Hao also vented out all of his emotions. After washing up, Zhou Hao very pitifully pulled this young lady into his embrace, comforting her with utmost tenderness. Under the bright sunlight, Zhou Hao and young Jiabao sat on the boat and slowly floated above Seeping River. Seeping River could be said to be the most beautiful river in the world. The mountains on both sides of the river were tall and straight, and there were many small flowers and shrubs growing on the mountain peaks. From afar, it looked like a beauty's clothes. The boat was sailing amidst the beautiful scenery of the green mountains and rivers, accompanied by the blue sky. It really made people feel relaxed, because young Jiabao would start school in a few days' time. At that time, Zhou Hao and Xiao Jiming would have to continue searching for medicine in the northern part of Hunan Lake. Therefore, the two of them took this opportunity to tour Guilin and experience the concept of Guilin mountains and rivers under heaven. At this moment, the two of them were sitting side by side on a boat, admiring the green waves, green water, and lofty peaks outside. In these 2 days, young Jiabao found that her skin was really a little tight and delicate, and she looked very energetic. It made her doubt Zhou Hao's thing that day. Whether it was really a nourishing medicine or not, she still wanted to try again. However, because she was too embarrassed and reserved, she did not open her mouth to do that shameful thing to Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao also noticed young Jiabao's change, and he couldn't help but feel strange. That night, he was just playing with young Jiabao. But these 2 days, he found that young Jiabao's originally delicate and smooth skin became even more lovey-dovey like satin. In his heart, he could not help but guess, could it be that that thing of mine really has the effect of nourishing the yin and nourishing the face? Previously, even though Li Rulin and Zhao Yuqin had it before, they did not eat that thing. So Zhou Hao did not discover any changes between the two of them. And young Jiabao had swallowed some that night. Now, there was such a change. It was really surprising. Recalling that his blood could cure the poison of the Yama's smile, Zhou Hao became even more suspicious. Could it be because of the amber fruit's effect? Then wouldn't I become the real version of Tangsing? When he thought up to here, he couldn't help but laugh. "What are you laughing at?" Young Jiabao, who was beside him, asked. Zhou Hao joked. "No, I was just thinking about how sincere I was to Buddha. In the end, I was still captivated by you, spider spirit. This world is truly a monstrous place." "All right, you dare to say that I am a monstrous place?" Young Jiabao pouted and pinched Zhou Hao's waist. "So what if I am a spider spirit? I not only want to make you fall for me, but I also want to eat your meat. I want to live forever." She giggled. The two of them were originally a couple, but now they were playing so intimately that they attracted the attention of the other tourists on the boat. After a good tour of Seeping River, Zhou Hao and young Jiabao went ashore and went to a small restaurant by the river. This small restaurant was indeed small. The shop was a bamboo house by the river. Compared to other large-scale restaurants, it was very simple and crude. However, due to the beautiful scenery, this kind of arrangement had its own unique characteristics. And the most famous restaurant was the local snack, Guilin rice noodle. It was different from those restaurants that opened all over the country in the future. The dishes here were authentic Guilin rice powder, and the craftsmanship was very particular. There was even a signboard, Guilin rice powder A World, hung in the restaurant. Young Jiabao ordered 2 Guilin rice noodle soup and a few snacks and chatted with Zhou Hao as she waited. At this moment, Zhou Hao saw a few figures walk into the restaurant from outside and could not help but feel a little lost. There were a total of 4 people, 3 men and 1 woman. The man and woman walking side by side should be the leader. The 2 men following behind them seemed to be their followers. The man and woman were very young, and the man was only 30. They were quite good-looking, but their expressions gave off a gloomy feeling, and they looked very difficult to get close to. It was natural for Zhou Hao to be absent-minded. It was not this man, but the woman beside him. The woman was about the same age as Zhao Yuqin. She was wearing a black qipao with a lifelike phoenix embroidered with silver threads. In contrast to the qipao, the woman's perfect figure that made one's hair stand on end was perfectly displayed. The cheongsam was a traditional cheongsam, unlike the waiters in certain hotels who had their hands on their waists. And it was a high-collar one. But even so, this woman still gave off a sexy feeling, a kind of unexposed sexiness unique to Eastern women. Her ample breasts, her snake-like waist, and her ample but that was as high as the clouds, and her jade-like arms and legs that were like pink lotus roots. Just from her figure alone, Zhou Hao thought that only Zhao Yuqin could be compared with this girl. As for this woman's appearance, it could definitely be described as stunning. Her features were like a painting, and her cherry lips were like flowers. She was like a classical beauty that had walked out of a painting. Moreover, there seemed to be a type of demonic aura on her body. Her bearing was clearly very dignified, but there was always a kind of seductive temperament, especially her pair of phoenix eyes, which were really coquettish like silk. With just a slight turn, it could make a man bow his head and listen to orders. In Zhou Hao's view, this woman was simply the combination of Li Ruolin and Zhao Yuqin. She was both reserved and elegant like Li Ruolin and also contained the charm in Zhao Yuqin's bones. So when these four people walked in, everyone in the restaurant focused their eyes on them. Especially that woman. Even the two waiters in the restaurant were stunned with their dishes in their hands. Yang Jiabao waved her hand in front of Zhou Hao and pouted unhappily. Have you seen enough? She was immune to that seductive woman. Only she, who was also a woman, was immune to it. Zhou Hao came back to his senses and looked at Yang Jiabao, whose cheeks were puffed up. He shrugged and smiled. It's human nature. You men like women who are like vixens. Yang Jiabao deliberately increased the volume of her voice. When the men in the restaurant heard Yang Jiabao's words, they recovered from their petrified state. As for the women, they responded to Yang Jiabao's words while teaching their husbands and boyfriends a lesson. Invisibly, the woman in the black embroidered phoenix cheongsam was pushed to the opposite side by the women in the restaurant. The gloomy-looking man looked at Yang Jiabao and did not say anything. When the woman saw Zhou Hao beside Yang Jiabao, she revealed an elegant smile to him. Seeing the smile on the woman's face, Zhou Hao finally understood what it meant by one smile can topple cities, and another smile can topple countries. You still want to see it? Yang Jiabao reached out her hand and pinched Zhou Hao's waist. In fact, Yang Jiabao was angry because she was jealous. Because that woman was really too beautiful, and she was so flirtatious and seductive. Whether it was her figure or appearance, Yang Jiabao knew that she could not compare to her. That was why Yang Jiabao was angry that Zhou Hao was charmed by that woman. Demon. What a demon. Zhou Hao turned his head and looked at Yang Jiabao seriously. Female Bodhisattva, you have to protect me from that demon. I'm counting on you. Yang Jiabao, who was originally angry, was caught off guard by Zhou Hao's words and laughed out loud. She pinched the soft meat on Zhou Hao's waist with all her strength and said, disgusting. Sheena person. Who are you calling a monster? The follower behind the seductive woman pointed at Zhou Hao and shouted. In fact, Zhou Hao's voice was not loud. Even the people at the table beside them could not hear him. However, the follower of the woman could hear him so clearly. Clearly, he had internal energy. Furthermore, even though his Mandarin was fluent, the word Sheena revealed that he was not Chinese. Zhou Hao looked up and saw that the guy was in his 40s. He had a tall and straight body, and his facial features were very ordinary. However, his eyes were as sharp as a falcon's. At this moment, he looked at Zhou Hao with two pairs of eyes that seemed to be real. Hearing that person say that Zhou Hao was a Sheena person, everyone in the restaurant looked at him with unfriendly gazes. Even the man who looked like their companion with a gloomy expression frowned, as if he was dissatisfied with that guy. The seductive woman said, Mr. Jingu, forget it. Her voice was warm and gentle, and it had the characteristics of a woman from the south of the Yangtze River. I apologize to this lady for what I just said. I misspoke. Zhou Hao stood up and politely smiled at the seductive woman sitting at the table in the distance. The people in the restaurant turned their eyes to Zhou Hao. Their faces were a little stunned. They thought Zhou Hao was fascinated by the woman's beauty and was scolded as a Sheena person. He even put his hot face on her. But immediately, Zhou Hao stopped smiling. But I think that Mr. should also apologize to me, because he has a strong sense of humiliation towards me, and even all the people in China. Yes, he should apologize. What kind of guy is he? One look, and you can tell that he's Japanese. Japanese are all so rude. The surrounding people responded one after another, asking Mr. Jingu to apologize. Mr. Jinga's lips twitched, and the way he looked at Zhou Hao became even more fierce. He even clenched his fists. The guests sitting around them suddenly felt a biting cold aura, and even the air seemed to freeze. Zhou Hao also felt a chill in his heart, because that Mr. Jingu could actually emit such an aura. It made ordinary people feel it, and it was Zhou Hao's first time seeing such a powerful technique. Mr. Jing. The seductive woman reached out her hand and pulled Mr. Jingu's sleeve. The aura emitted from Mr. Jingu's body immediately disappeared in the woman's voice, as if he had returned to the calm surface of the lake. The seductive woman stood up again, placed her hands on her waist, and bowed slightly to Zhou Hao. She said with a faint smile, "Sir, I apologize to all of you for what he did just now. I'm really sorry, but I hope you can forgive me." This woman was really charming. As soon as her voice faded, the surrounding people immediately calmed down. Even Zhou Hao himself couldn't express his anger anymore. Seeing that Zhou Hao didn't say anything, the woman smiled gently. "What's wrong? Sir, are you not willing to accept my apology?" Zhou Hao quickly smiled and said, "Since you are so sincere, I can't not accept it even if I want to." After saying that, she sat down again, and the woman also sat back down. The two of them looked at each other from afar and smiled, which could be considered to have let go of the unpleasant matter just now. The gloomy man sitting opposite the woman glanced at Zhou Hao, intentionally or unintentionally. His eyes revealed some hostility. Zhou Hao also looked at him without showing any weakness, but Zhou Hao paid more attention to the man beside him. Although he looked like a follower, that man was different from Mr. Jingu. Mr. Jingu stood respectfully behind the woman, while he sat beside the gloomy man. The treatment he received was much higher than Mr. Jingu's. Compared to Mr. Jingu, the man was much shorter and thinner, and judging from his age, he should be 60 years old. Although he looked like an ordinary old man, Zhou Hao's intuition told him that he wasn't an ordinary person. Is that woman also Japanese? At this moment, Yang Jiabao came over and asked. Zhou Hao looked at the seductive woman in the distance. He felt that this woman's charm was outstanding just from her back. He said, "That should be right. Although her Mandarin is very fluent, her followers are Japanese. She might also be Japanese." What about the man sitting across from her, also Japanese? Zhou Hao shook his head. No. He secretly paid attention to the person at the table. He saw that only when facing that seductive woman would the gloomy man reveal a smile, and there was no lack of fawning expression on his face. Zhou Hao tilted his head to listen to what the two were saying. However, due to the distance, the surrounding people were in a mess. Zhou Hao could only hear things like supply, tariffs, and so on, but he could not hear the details of their conversation. At this moment, the waiter brought the osmanthus rice flour and side dishes ordered by Zhou Hao and the others to the table. Zhou Hao did not pay attention to the people at the table and focused on accompanying Yang Jiabao to taste the authentic osmanthus food. After a full meal, Yang Jiabao let the waiter come over to pay the bill because she did not want Zhou Hao to stay here anymore to avoid being bewitched by the seductive woman. Zhou Hao, however, did not care. After all, he had interacted with that woman. Perhaps this was the only time in his life. To him, she was just a passerby in his life. Zhou Hao felt that it was a pity. If it was in his past life, if he had encountered such a situation, he would have definitely taken a picture of the woman's face with his phone. Even if they did not have any interactions in the future, he could still take it out and use it as a memento. However, there was still a long time before the first phone with the raised camera would be released, so Zhou Hao could only take a few more glances at the seductive woman. After leaving the small restaurant, Yang Jiabao held Zhou Hao's hand and walked along the small tree-lined path by the river. She heaved a sigh of relief. Finally, I can't see that woman anymore. It looks like she is the source of trouble that you men are talking about. Regarding Yang Jiabao's younger daughter's thoughts, Zhou Hai just smiled at her. After all, no woman would not be jealous. Moreover, sometimes a woman would be quite cute when jealous. Zhou Hao hugged Yang Jiabao's waist and said with a smile, all right. To me, you are also a disaster. I, Tang Song, was also eaten by you, spider spirit, until there was not a single trace left." Walking along the small path, the two of them quietly enjoyed their time together. "I beg you, please spare me. I won't dare to do it again in the future. I won't do it again in the future." As they passed by a small forest, Zhou Hao and Yang Jiabao heard a panicked child's voice coming from the forest. They couldn't help but look into the forest. This made the two of them stunned, because on the stone path in the small forest, the seductive woman and the other three were there. Old man, who was over 60 years old, was holding the hand of an 11 or 12-year-old boy beside the gloomy man. The boy struggled with all his might, but he was unable to break free from old man's iron clamp-like hand. At this moment, tears were streaming down his face, and he kept begging them for mercy. Zhou Hao saw old man grab the boy's hand tightly. The boy's wrist was covered in purple blood, making the boy cry even more miserably. There was no one else in the woods. Zhou Hao, let's go and take a look. Yang Jiabao saw that the boy was crying miserably and felt pity for him. Zhou Hao nodded and followed Yang Jiabao through the woods. The seductive woman and the others also saw Zhou Hao and Yang Jiabao walking towards them. That gloomy man frowned even more deeply. Mr. Jingu also looked at Zhou Hao with a strong hostility. What happened? Why did you make things difficult for such a child? Zhou Hao went straight to the point. This is our problem. Aren't you stretching your hands too far? The man with a gloomy face was very rude when he spoke. Obviously, he had been dissatisfied with Zhou Hao for a long time. How could Yang Jiabao allow others to bully her man? She immediately said without showing any signs of weakness. We are here to see injustice. Everyone can interfere in the matter of injustice. Moreover, you are bullying a child like this. Aren't you afraid that others will laugh at you? However, the gloomy man sneered. Do you see injustice on the road? Do you really think that there are so many unjust things in this world? Do you think you can control them? He looked coldly at Zhou Hao and Yang Jiabao. Let me tell you, just now, this little B***starred wanted to steal my wallet and was caught by my subordinates. I'm going to teach him a lesson now and let him know the consequences of stealing, especially my things. Zhou Hao and Zhou Hao were stunned at the same time. They didn't expect the crying boy to be a thief. The little boy turned around and cried to Zhou Hao and the others. I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Zhou Hao saw that there was a purple color under the little boy's wrist. Clearly, it was because old man grabbed it that the blood flow was blocked. Even his entire palm was slightly swollen. Zhou Hao knew that if this continued, the boy's hand would be crippled. He said to them, even if he wants to steal your things, you can send him to the police station. Why are you making things difficult for him? These thieves are all gangsters, and they might be in cahoots with the police. The gloomy man said, besides, do you think I will let him go so easily when you steal from me? He narrowed his eyes and revealed a ferocious gaze. Sure Long, cripple this little B***starred's hand and let him remember in the future. Yes, young master. Old man, who was called Sure Long, responded. He grabbed the little boy's hand even harder, and the little boy cried even more miserably because of the intense pain. Stop! Zhou Hao shouted coldly and appeared next to the stone dragon in a flash. He used his palm as a knife and chopped at the little boy's wrist, forcing him to let go of the little boy. However, the stone dragon gave a sinister smile. He grabbed the little boy's hand and pulled him over, using the little boy's body to block Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao, however, did not change his movements. The palm knife continued to cut forward, but when it reached the boy's chest, it had already turned sideways and pressed its palm on the boy's chest. Furthermore, he also injected genuine auras into the boy's body. The energy went straight to the boy's right hand, which was grabbed by the stone dragon. The stone dragon only felt a huge amount of true force coming from the boy's hand, and it even shook his hand away. Zhou Hao took the opportunity to protect the little boy. He also saw that the right wrist of the stone dragon that he had just been grabbed by had already been covered with a circle of purple-black bruises. The bones of his wrist were also showing signs of cracking. Zhou Hao used the genuine aura to stimulate the little boy's blood and remove the blood stasis. He looked coldly at the stone dragon and the gloomy man. You guys are so vicious. Even if he was a pickpocket, he wouldn't need to use such a heavy hand to deal with such a child. The gloomy man was surprised that Zhou Hao was able to shake off the stone dragon. The stone dragon also said to him, I'm sorry, young master. I underestimated my opponent. After helping the little boy circulate his blood and remove the stasis and seal a few acupuncture points on his hand to help him relieve the pain, Zhou Hao passed the little boy to Yang Jiabao. Jiabao, look after him first. The gloomy man frowned and looked at Zhou Hao. I didn't expect to meet an expert here. The seductive woman also looked at Zhou Hao with interest. Her eyes were filled with curiosity and surprise. In fact, Zhou Hao had already seen through it. This man with a gloomy expression did not know martial arts. Otherwise, he would not have been pulled so close that he would not have been unaware of it. As for the seductive woman, Zhou Hao could only tell that she did not have inner energy, but he did not know if she knew any martial arts. Sure Long seemed to be unwilling to accept that he had been shaken away by Zhou Hao. So he said to the gloomy man, Young master, let me deal with him. The gloomy man was just about to nod his head when Mr. Jingu, who was standing beside the seductive woman, walked up to him and said with a smile, Mr. Dong, let me do it. This fellow has been a hindrance to us since the beginning. How dare he say that my wife is a monster? I can't forgive him. The man surnamed Dong turned his head to look at the seductive woman. Seeing that she only had a faint smile on her face and did not speak, he nodded at Stone Dragon. The Stone Dragon bowed slightly, yes? Then, he retreated to the man surnamed Dong's side. Zhou Hao also glanced at the seductive woman and saw that she only smiled at him without saying anything. When he heard Mr. Jingu say that she was his wife, Zhou Hao couldn't help but think, could it be that this woman is already married? His gaze drifted to her slender jade-like fingers, but he didn't see her wearing a ring. What are you looking at? The *min beast. He still dares to blaspheme my wife. Mr. Jingu noticed that Zhou Hao's gaze was still lingering on the girl. Immediately, he became furious and rushed towards Zhou Hao aggressively. Before Mr. Jingu even arrived, Zhou Hao could already feel a piercingly cold chi rushing towards him. He could also see the red color of Mr. Jingu's raised right palm, and even his meridians could be clearly seen. Zhou Hao also raised his right palm to meet Mr. Jingu's attack. Both of their palms collided violently. With a muffled bang, the dirt on the ground around the two of them were swept up by the cyclone created by the explosion. Zhou Hao felt his right arm shake, as if there was a huge force pushing him back. He could not help but take 3 steps back before he could stabilize his body. Mr. Jingu also took 5 steps back, each step leaving a deep footprint on the stone road. Mr. Jingu looked at Zhou Hao in surprise. Obviously, he didn't expect Zhou Hao to not only fight him, but also force him to retreat. Mr. Dong and the woman behind him were both shocked, because they saw Mr. Jingu's right hand still trembling behind his back. Obviously, it hadn't recovered from the fight with Zhou Hao, especially the seductive woman. She knew Mr. Jingu's background very well. Mr. Jingu was the current sect master of Imperial Palace Wind Repelling Flow, one of the 3 ancient martial arts sects in Japan. He was also one of the 3 great experts in Japan. He had never been a match for anyone since his debut. How could she have expected that he would be at a disadvantage in front of that young man with a weak crown? It was truly unbelievable. Mr. Jingu stared at Zhou Hao in bewilderment. He felt somewhat uneasy in his heart. Because of his hatred towards Zhou Hao, he didn't hold back at all just now. He had used all of his strength. Initially, he thought that he could kill Zhou Hao with a single palm strike, but he didn't expect such an outcome. Zhou Hao, are you all right? Yang Jiabao took 2 steps forward and asked Zhou Hao from behind, her face full of worry. She knew that Zhou Hao's martial arts was powerful, not to mention other things. Even though he fell from a 1,000-meter high cliff, he only suffered minor injuries. Yang Jiabao had never seen this kind of skill before. Even Yang Hongzhao and the other experts of the older generation had said that with Zhou Hao's ability, not to mention his peers, even in the entire country, it would be very difficult to find someone who could be compared to him. Zhou Hao shook his head slightly and looked at Mr. Jingu with a serious expression. He had never met this person before in his life. Even Dr. Gongsun was slightly inferior to him. However, no one knew that Zhou Hao didn't use his full strength in that strike. On the one hand, it was to test him. On the other hand, it was also because of the seductive woman that Zhou Hao didn't want to kill Mr. Jingu. And because he knew that Mr. Jingu was not weak, he did not want to let his guard down. So he used his strength that was slightly higher than his usual opponents. In that strike just now, Zhou Hao had used about 30% of his full strength. Huh. Mr. Jingu shouted out loudly, then he spun around and attacked Zhou Hao. As he spun, the surrounding air also turned into a whirlwind. Be careful. Zhou Hao let Yang Jiabao protect the little boy and retreated. He also used the genuine aura to block the chi from Mr. Jingu so that it would not attack Yang Jiabao. At this time, Mr. Jingu had already arrived in front of Zhou Hao. He stepped on the ground with his right foot to stop the spinning movement, and the hard stone floor was immediately shattered by his foot. At the same time, he closed the 5 fingers of his left hand and attacked Zhou Hao with his palm as a blade. With the rotating force, his left arm stabbed towards Zhou Hao's chest like an unsheathed knife. Zhou Hao even felt traces of blade energy on his arm. Zhou Hao did not raise his hand to block, but raised his chest to meet the attack. Mr. Jingu's left palm hit Zhou Hao's sternum, making a dull and loud sound. However, Zhou Hao's feet seemed to have grown roots on the ground. His entire body was as firm as a rock, and he did not move at all. However, under the surging energy, Zhou Hao's shirt was cut by the wisps of blade energy, and cracks appeared on it. Zhou Hao's eyes flashed, and a fierce, genuine aura burst out from his body. That huge force immediately shook Mr. Jingu away. With this strike, Mr. Jingu was forced back a dozen steps. He could feel the blood and chi in his 5 viscera flowing backwards. A mouthful of hot blood rushed from his chest to his throat, but it was forcefully pushed back. He didn't want to lose his power in front of others. He looked at Zhou Hao, who had only torn his clothes, but wasn't injured, and Mr. Jingu, who had obviously suffered internal injuries. The seductive woman smiled gently and walked past Mr. Jingu to speak to Zhou Hao. There are indeed many crouching tigers and hidden dragons in your China. May I ask the name of this mister? Which sect does he come from? However, Zhou Hao only smiled. We just met by chance. There was no need to share their names. As for the sect, hee hee,